The LouieTeeNetwork is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the 2026 welcome of the Commanders draft class. We're going to talk about all 6 draft picks made by the Washington Commanders, how we feel one day removed, kind of gave you a chance to let it all breathe, and you kind of just take it all in. Figure out if you're satisfied with all that you've read, all that you've heard, all that you've seen with these prospects. I'll give you my take, but I'll just, spoiler alert, let you know that I'm really excited about this draft class. But then again, when am I not excited about a draft class? It's very rare to hear me shit on a draft class before they've gotten an opportunity to display their talents. Sometimes you don't necessarily love the picks, and we've had drafts like that where we didn't necessarily love the picks. I can tell you right now, going back to the 2023 draft, wasn't necessarily thrilled with everything that was done in that draft, especially with getting Forbes in the first round. But we learned to love that pick initially, right? But it didn't work out. I remember not being very happy about Phidarian Mathis in the second round. What was that, 22, right? I believe that was the 2022 draft class. Wasn't very thrilled with Phidarian Mathis in the second round there. That turned out to be a dud. I want to say that entire draft was just awful. Was it 21 or 22? So forget about all that. That's reminiscent of misery, times where we were in the dark. I'm here to toast to us being in the light now, okay? Cheers to the 2026 Washington Commanders draft class. A lot of people seem to love it. Count me in among those who love it. We will be toasting quite a bit throughout the night. So get your glass ready, get your cup ready, whatever it is you're consuming, water, juice, soda, whatever beverage, except for milk. Bring it on over, because we're going to be toasting throughout the night on a draft that felt like the beginning of this roster starting to be made whole. I really feel like this draft right here, along with some of the things that they've done, but really this entire offseason, this draft was the exclamation point. It's the culmination of an offseason that I felt like is the building blocks of building on top of what we started in 2024 when we drafted Jaden Daniels, when we, sort of went out and got guys that were brought in here to set the foundation, to set the culture, the Bobby Wagners, the Frankie Louvu's, those type of guys, the Zach Ertzes of the world, the Austin Ecklers. Those guys came in and helped set the culture. Hey, this is what it means to wear this uniform, to be a Commander. Now this is how you uphold it, right? And of course, we already had guys like Terry McLaurin here and Tress Way and Jeremy Reeves. And I know some of you aren't the biggest Jeremy Reeves fan, but he absolutely embodies what they want in that building. And you can say what you want about Jeremy Reeves, but he plays extremely hard. No one's ever said Jeremy Reeves doesn't lay it out on the line every single time he steps out there. So I think this draft is one that I think we're going to look back on when it's all said and done, of course, assuming that guys play to their full potential, and you never know how it's going to go. But like, if you go back to the 2024 draft, right now, outside of Jaden Daniels, is anyone guaranteed a second contract? I'm right now hoping that Mikey can show that he is worthy of a second contract here right now. It's hit or miss, right? Because we've had one really good year, one really subpar year from Mikey. So year 3 is going to be really big for him. But I don't think any of us feel good about what we've seen from the guy that's supposed to be the breakout player for the team this year, Johnny Newton in the second round, and Ben Sinnott, obviously, in the second round. I don't know about you. Brandon Coleman's not even a starter right now going into year 3. And Luke McCaffrey, for all the Luke stands out there that he's carved out a niche on special teams, you don't draft special teamers in the 3rd round. Newsflash, okay? Day 3, like I love Jalen Lane. You know why? They spent a day 3 pick on him. If he does nothing else but return punts his entire career here, he will be a success, especially if he continues to do what he did in his rookie season, which is be a dynamic return man. He doesn't have to touch a football on offense if he's going to impact special teams that way. And he was a day 3 pick. All right. Luke's not running anything back for a touchdown. I love having great starting field position, but you could have drafted someone in the 6th or 7th round that can get you starting field position out around the 40-yard line. You didn't need to spend a 3rd round pick to do that. So Jordan McGee right now, don't even know where he fits in all of this now after adding a demon like Sonny Styles. Don't really know where he fits into the equation. I think he's going to get on the field when you're in your base, but I mean, how often are you actually in a 3 linebacker set on the field, right? If we stay relatively healthy, Jordan McGee probably feels like the odd man out from the outside looking in, which is a good thing, right? Which is a great thing. I don't want to be relying on a 5th round pick who hasn't been able to stay healthy, and when he has been healthy, hasn't either not been given the opportunity or hasn't showcased enough to make me feel comfortable about him being the starter, penciling him in going into his 3rd season. So you look at that 24 draft right now, I'd say it's Jaden Daniels, right? 25, it's too early to say, but we'll see. This 26 draft, again, feels like one of those drafts that when it's all said and done, you're going to have a bunch of guys who are going to be here for quite some time where we'll look up and we'll say, this guy has been here for 6 years. This guy's been here. Well, all of them would have been here for the same amount of time. All 3 of these guys have been here for 6 years. They were all drafted back in 2026. I could see that, right? And it may not be the guys you're thinking about. But in any event, really like what this draft represents, because once again, Adam Peters didn't lie to me. He drafted BPA. We didn't take a single corner. And again, not like corner was a dire need. I kept explaining to you that if we didn't take a corner, it's because you didn't have to take a corner. Signing Akello Witherspoon gave you the freedom to not have to force the issue at corner. You have a veteran backing up all of the other guys that are out there, and if need be, you can turn to Akello Witherspoon. You have the flexibility of Mikey or what's my guy's name? Amik Robertson can either play inside or outside. So there's positional flex. Really, if we're being honest with one another, Trey Amos can play inside as well. He played inside while he was at Alabama, and then at not as much. He played more on the boundary at Ole Miss, but he played inside when he was at Bama. So he has the versatility to kick inside if you need him to. But at the end of the day, we have enough flexibility. We have enough veterans at the cornerback position where they didn't feel the need to force the issue. And that was what Adam Peters told us, is that we've set ourselves up to not have to force the issue at any position. We didn't have to have an edge rusher. We didn't have to have a running back this year. We could have waited until next year to draft those positions. But guess what? Those were the best players on the board, so they took them. I can't speak for you. I'm ecstatic that we took a quarterback this year in the draft. I'm ecstatic that we took a quarterback, because I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of seeing Sam Hartman as our backup, our 3rd string quarterback getting run. Bro, do you realize we put Josh Johnson and Sam Hartman on the field in the preseason, and it was an abject disaster, and we played Josh Johnson down the stretch of a lost season? Wouldn't you much rather that be Athan Kaliakmanis? Wouldn't you rather it be some young developmental quarterback getting those reps instead of it being a 39-year-old journeyman veteran who won us a damn game we didn't want to win? I'd much rather it be. If we win a game that we have no business winning, I'd much rather it be for a developmental quarterback like Athan Kaliakmanis than Josh effing Johnson. I don't want to speak for anybody. I'm just speaking for myself. So, hey, I'm excited about this draft. Hey, cups up. So won't you raise your glass, won't you? Cheers to the Washington Commanders 2026 draft class. As compact and efficient as it was, it may turn out to be one of the most impactful we've had here in quite some time. Obviously, nothing trumps 24 because you got your franchise savior and your future Hall of Fame quarterback in Jaden Daniels. I'm trying to speak it into existence. You don't have one of those, you don't have a shot in this league. We got ours in 24. But this may be the next most impactful draft after that one. Cheers to that one. All right. So let's go through these picks. Let's talk about what the team did. We're going to go through the offensive depi, the defensive depi post-draft. We talked about doing that. So we'll get into the nuts and bolts of everything, the meat and potatoes of what the Commanders just did and what the ripple effect of that will be for all of these moves. So without any further ado, let's dive on in. And we start in the first round, 7th overall, a guy that needs no introduction, Sonny Styles. Uh-oh. What happened there? It didn't work. Hold on a second. Let me see something. I wonder if I can put it in here. Only one way to find out. If it doesn't work here, it's not a big deal. It was just the intro, guys. I don't know why it didn't work, though. That's weird. None of them look like they're going to work either. So let's see if it works over here. I guess I'll just take them all out of here. Yep, it's going to work over there. That's interesting. All right, well, let's get to Sonny Styles. All right, so our first pick in this draft, Sonny Styles, 6'5", 244 pounds. We know that this guy turned in one of the most epic combine performances that we've ever seen, but it's not the raw athleticism that should get you excited. It's not the crazy, laboratory height, weight, speed combination. It's the fact that this guy plays a position in the defense that we're going to be running that is so important. He is going to be the brains of the operation, the green dot wearer, and he's just getting started. What you saw from him was a guy that got better and better and better and better and better as the season wore on. The guy that you saw at the beginning of the Ohio State season and the guy that you saw at the very end of it were two vastly different football players. A guy that had grown leaps and bounds from the transition of coming from safety in his basically going into his junior year to being a senior linebacker ready to make that massive leap to the NFL game. He's still just scratching the surface of what he's going to be. And when you watched him towards the end of Ohio State's, season, that Big Ten, and I know I've probably referenced this game a million times, but that Big Ten championship game against Indiana, that game was littered with future NFL players that were drafted that heard their names called this, just over the weekend, right? Elijah Surratt, Omar Cooper Jr., the number 1 overall pick was in that game, Fernando Mendoza. His teammates, Caleb Downs and Arvell Reese were in that game. Defensive tackle Caden McDonald was in that game. Igbinosin, the cornerback, was in that game. That game was littered with future draft picks. Just think about that Indiana and Ohio State game and how many players from that game heard their name called over this past weekend. Had to be almost double digits, if not more than that. His brother, right, heard his name called over the weekend by the New Orleans Saints. Shout out to his brother for getting drafted as well. That game was littered. And of all of those people, including the number 1 overall pick, Fernando Mendoza, of all those people on that football field that night, Caden Curry, all of those players, don't know if Kamara got drafted, defensive end for Indiana. But their linebacker got drafted. I forgot his name. I don't know. It ain't popping right now, but he was on the field too. Of all those players, nobody, and I repeat, nobody was better than Sonny Styles that night. And honestly, when this thing is all said and done, I think he's going to have the best career of all of those players. That includes Caleb Downs, who a lot of people think is a generational safety. We'll see what he turns out to be. We'll see what Sonny Styles turns out to be. But here's what I can tell you. You haven't seen this height, this weight, this speed in that frame at that position with the type of movement skills. And this is a guy that used to play safety, so there's that coverage ability. He's very comfortable in space. He's just, and you keep hearing me say scratching the surface. He's just scratching the surface of what he can be as a blitzer. Like, they didn't ask him to blitz a ton at Ohio State. That's going to change in this chaotic defense that Durante Jones is going to put together. There's going to be a ton of him attacking the line of scrimmage, being aggressive, hunting quarterbacks. He's got sideline to sideline speed. When's the last time we said that about a linebacker? What? Keenan Robinson, maybe? And even Keenan Robinson was a 4.6 linebacker. I think he was a 4.6 linebacker, which was pretty fast for those days, right? He wasn't 4.45 like Sonny Styles. Is Keenan Robinson the last time we had this athletic a middle linebacker? Probably so. And again, he's way more athletic, way more gifted than Keenan Robinson ever was. So we haven't seen this type of athleticism at the linebacker position in ages. This guy's a tackling machine. He's physical at the point of attack. He doesn't shy away from contact. He's not moving out of the way like John Boone Bostic, right? He's not olaying, blockers and allowing holes to open up where he's supposed to be. He's taking on guys, shedding them, and getting the ball carriers. We drafted a machine at 7, a Terminator of sorts. And the beauty of the Terminator that we just drafted is he's still being programmed. He's still being programmed. We're still putting wires where they belong. We're still putting the finishing touches on what this machine is going to be able to do. And the things that he can already do are better than most machines that exist already at his position. This is so much fun being able to say, this is why I wanted one of these guys that has that blue chip talent, that has the ability to potentially be a Pro Bowl, All-Pro, Hall of Fame type player, right? I wanted a blue chip player. Let's just forget about Hall of Fame. That's crazy to say right now. But I just wanted a guy that could have Pro Bowl, All-Pro type talent. It allows you to dream, right, of what it can be. I don't sound crazy talking about this guy potentially being the best player at his position in 3 years. I don't sound crazy saying that. I would have sounded very crazy saying that, and not to shit on him, because that's not what this is about. And again, comparison is the thief of joy. I'm not here to compare, but I'm just telling you, this was the argument when we were sitting here at 7 4 days ago, and I said, I don't want a receiver at 7 because I can't imagine Carnell Tate being the best player at his position or one of them in 3 years from now. And he very well may be the best player at his position 3 years from now. He may be a top 5 receiver in this league. I highly doubt it. I don't think he will. I don't think Mekhi Lemon will. I don't think any of those receivers, Jordan Tyson will, even though Tyson has a chance if he can stay healthy, which we're not sure if he's going to be able to do. But that was the point. That's why I wanted a Caleb Downs or a Sonny Styles or a David Bailey or even an Arvell Reese, and that's to a lesser degree because I'm not sure what Arvell Reese is going to be. With Sonny Styles, you get the best of both worlds. Best of both were. You get the best of both worlds. Because you can both say, I see the production. And then you say, I see what it can be. I don't have to just go off of a projection like I would have to with Arvell Reese. I got to assume Arvell Reese is going to be a great off-the-ball backer or a great rusher of the quarterback. I can't look at film and say that definitively. I just got to hope. I can look at film and say, Sonny Styles is going to be this type of player at the NFL level right here. Right here. He's going to be that type of guy. And then when we add in some of the new features to the Terminator, right? Like blitzing effectively, right? When we start adding in different tweaks to his mechanism that gives him functions that he didn't come into the league with. Oh my God. This guy's going to be an uncaged beast. He'll be a weapon. That's exactly what he'll be. That's what we drafted him to be. That's what he's going to be. I'm so excited about this pick. I haven't been this excited for an actual draft choice of this team since 2024 when we drafted Jaden Daniels. And maybe that's just how it goes. You know, it's harder to get excited for a draft pick when you're drafting 27th or 29th overall. I'd much rather be drafting 29th or 30th or 31st, or God forbid we draft 32nd. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I wouldn't know what to do with myself if we earn the right to draft 32nd. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. But I really love this pick. Love it. Love it. And I have no doubts that this guy's going to be exactly what we drafted him to be, which is the Jaden Daniels of the defense. He's going to be worth every single second we spent obsessing in the offseason during the draft process about hoping that a guy like this fell to us and gave us a chance to select. He's going to be worth every second of us talking about him, hoping, wishing, praying that he would end up here. He's going to be worth it. And you're gonna know it right away. You're gonna see it. A lot of times with these guys that are elite prospects, you see it right away. You know, and again, everybody matures at a different rate. So, you know, it might not be for 6 games for some. Might not be for 12 games, and then you start to see it. It may not happen at all in the rookie season, and in year 2, the light comes on, and boy, he looks like a totally different player. Night and day difference. But some guys hit the ground running, and you just know immediately once you see it, that's this guy right here. That's this guy, Sonny Styles. So that was the Commanders' first round pick, 7th overall, Sonny Styles out of the Ohio State University. They followed that up with my favorite pick in the draft. And look, I'd be lying to you if I said I thought that this was going to happen. As a matter of fact, I was so morbidly, I was so negative when it came to this pick potentially being the selection for the Commanders. So much so that Rio had asked on the Commanders King stream, because we were, of course, live on day number 2 of the draft together, that, you know, give me a name of a player that you would love to see fall to this team and have them select at 71. And, you know, I started thinking about all these other receivers. Never in my wildest dreams did I expect Antonio Williams to be the pick for the Commanders. So much so that I didn't even bring him up. And after we gave our, you know, players, I you know, said his name, but I was like, he's not going to be there. I got to say this before we get to the Antonio Williams selection. The day number 2 of the NFL draft was one of the wackiest in recent memory for me in terms of how teams selected. You remember, I know I said this to you, but remember I talked about the Rams and how they went 13 personnel and how the NFL is a copycat league. And I remember like Charles Davis or somebody saying like, with the success of the Rams, look out for teams looking to go 12 and 13 personnel next year because of the success the Rams had with it. And I would tell you every week, don't talk to me about Ben Sinnott can't get the football. I watched the Rams throw it to 4 different tight ends every week, right? That was my favorite thing to say. It was so weird how many tight ends came off the board in day number 2 ahead of these receivers. I remember, and I read an article the day after day 2 of the draft, heading into day 3, going in Saturday. I read an article by Mel Kiper Jr., and he said the league basically lost its mind in day 2 and overdrafted a heap of tight ends. This was not a great tight end draft class. You would have thought this was last year's draft class of tight ends, which was exceptional going in. You would have thought that's what it was because teams were taking tight ends like their mind had gone bad. You can't sit here and tell me that you thought going into day 2 that we were going to get to 71 and Antonio Williams, Ted Hurst, Chris Brazel II, Skylar Bell, and any other receiver that we had in that mix. The only one that didn't make it there was Stribling because the 49ers lost their minds. And not that it's a bad pick necessarily. It was just way too early. But, hey, get the guy that you feel – get your guy when you feel the need to get your guy. That's what I always say, right? So I'm not upset at them getting their guy. All right? But it felt early. But after them getting their guy, it felt like, okay, the run on receivers is about to take place. Zachariah Branch was still on the board at the time of our pick. We had the pick of the litter of all the receivers. After that first wave that went in the first round, Stribling went, and I want to say, I'm not sure, but I think Malachi Fields went. I think those are the only two. I could be wrong. And Malachi Fields could have went after, but I'm pretty sure there was a second receiver after Stribling went, and then no other receivers basically went. Except the Dolphins taking the Texas Tech receiver, Caleb Douglas. Like, teams completely lost their mind in day number 2, except ours. We started the run on receivers, the legitimate run on receivers, when we took Antonio Williams, the next receiver and the next player up in this Commanders draft. Third round, 71st overall, Antonio Williams is the pick. And Jeremy Bernard, you guys, thank you. Jeremy Bernard was the only other receiver that went. It wasn't Fields. He went after Antonio Williams, just like all the other receivers went after Antonio Williams in the third round. It was amazing to see how the board fell. I, in my wildest dreams, couldn't imagine that this thing would fall the way that it did. You saw my reaction. I was screaming like a little schoolgirl. So when I tell you that I was screaming like a little girl, now you can actually envision how I was screaming, because that's how I was screaming on Friday night when Mark Rippon finally finished his War and Peace novel at the damn mic and actually finally read the pick. It was Antonio Williams, wide receiver, Clemson. And anybody that knows anything about me and what I've been saying about the receiver position and who my favorite receiver was in this draft and how I like this guy more than most people do probably in this draft, you know that Antonio Williams was my guy, is my guy. He's a dog, a flat-out dog that hunts. And I said, and I didn't even know. I was not even aware that he was playing through a hamstring injury this year. Listen to Adam Peters talk about the drafting of Antonio Williams, and he said he played through a rib injury, a broken rib, in 2024 when he put up his best numbers of his collegiate career, over 900 yards, 11 touchdowns. I told you the game that I fell in love with him was the same game that Adam Peters fell in love with him on. It was the Georgia game, right? Remember, I told you about the Georgia game. I said, everybody and their mama was scared on the Clemson sideline. You could see it. You can look in the guy's eyes. Look into my eyes and tell me what it is you see. I looked into those Clemson players' eyes and I saw fear. Except for one. One guy wasn't afraid. He wasn't scared. And it was Antonio Williams. He was out there to do work. And that's exactly what he was doing. He was a one-man band, except the problem is if you're going to beat a team like Georgia, you need one band, one sound. Not one man, one sound. You need a whole band. And he was by himself, playing that damn saxophone, playing his heart out. He was playing that sax, baby. But he ain't had no help. Wasn't no percussion, bass, none of that. But this is a guy that can do it all on the football field. He can throw it. He can run it. He can catch it. He can play out wide. He can play in the slot. But most of us feel like he's going to do his most damage in the NFL as a slot receiver. They drafted this guy to give Jaden the thing that I said Jaden has never had, and I wanted that. Remember, in free agency, I said, man, I'd love to have a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson. Why? Because he's a slot winner, and it's something that Jaden's just never had. How often do we see Jaden having to throw someone open or throwing to a receiver in a contested catch situation? How many times did we watch him throw the comeback to Noah Brown with the receiver, with the cornerback draped all over him? You know? How many times have we seen him throw into these tight windows? Throwing Debo open with someone draped all over Debo. And you're like, oh, man, that's a hell of a catch. It's an even better throw. How about giving him a guy that will win for him and create separation so he doesn't have to do that? Now he has that guy. There's still work to do at the receiver position, but telling me that Antonio Williams had a hamstring injury last year makes me wonder, can he really unlock that third level? Because generally when you get to the league, you are what you are, right? And I told you, I'm not sure that he's a third level winner. He's absolutely a first and second level winner without question, right? But you tell me he had a hamstring and there was no extra gear, right? Playing through that hamstring injury. He couldn't open up. That's what a hamstring injury does. It stops you from being able to open up that full can of whoop ass. It stops you from being able to open up. If you're a 4-4-5 guy and you got a hamstring injury, well, now you're basically a 4-5-5 guy, right? Knocks off a full 1/10 of a second. He couldn't open up and run last year. So I wonder, and I wonder if you know what it means, what it means. I wonder if that means he can actually get vertical and beat guys, because he ran a 4.41 40. That means he can run. Now, again, just because you can run really, really fast in a straight line with no one chasing you on a fast track in Indy doesn't mean that that's game speed. Because we see guys that run like Carnell Tate is a great example, ran a 4.53 at the combine, but you put on pads and you got somebody chasing him, and all of a sudden Carnell Tate's running a 4.43 and he's behind the defense. Conversely, we've watched Jalen Lane go out and run a 4.34, and you put him outside on grass in front of a defender, and he can't seem to create any separation whatsoever by just running fast, which is what he's supposed to be able to do. So I wonder if he can get behind guys, because I know this for a fact. The thing that I'm most excited about, outside of this guy just being a football player, and you talk to anybody about Antonio Williams, and the first thing they will say to you is he's a football player. He's a man's man. He's a man, a real man's man, a real man's man. He is your favorite football player's favorite football player. He's your favorite analyst's favorite football player. The dude shows up and he gets it done. Whether that's running a slant, whether that's running an out, a whip route, a wheel route, a post route, a comeback, a dig, jet sweep, toss it to him out of the backfield, Texas route out of the backfield, wide receiver screen. However you got to get it to him, just get it to him. And that's the thing I'm most excited about is he gives us not only the slot winner that we've longed for here in Washington, that we haven't had since prime Jamison Crowder, JC Ice, not the Jamison Crowder we had the last time. I'm talking JC Ice, yeah. Nothing's better than Ice, JC Ice. We ain't had a slot winner since 15, 16. Now we got a legit slot winner, but we got a guy you can just get it to, bro. We got somebody you can just throw it to. Hey, here's a hitch. Make a guy miss and take a 5-yard pass and turn it into a 17-yard gain. Here's a wide receiver. Here's a tunnel screen. It's well blocked. All you got to do is make one guy miss, and it's 62 yards to the crib. He can do that. He's got punt return ability. Guys that have a punt return background turn into punt returners with the ball in their hands. It makes them extremely dangerous. The same thing we talked about with Zach Branch in this draft. He's so dangerous with the ball in his hands. Why? Because he's got punt return background. That's why we all got excited about Jalen last year, right? We got so excited. And then we realized very quickly, Jalen Lane isn't going to make anybody miss. And I knew that when he was drafted. Like, if we could just get him a lane, and you've seen it. Once he gets in that lane, the fast lane, we call it here in Washington, get him in the fast lane. He gone. Because he starts striding it out, right? But you got to create a massive, gap for him to be able to exploit. It can't be tight quarters. He got a jump cut without breaking stride. He's got to make a guy miss. He ain't got all of that. He ain't got none of that. We got a guy now we can throw a receiver screen to on 3rd and 16. We give this a give up play. 3rd and 16. We just, it's this drive. Nothing has gone well on this drive. We tried to run it on 1st down. Got nothing. Got stuffed. Had a nice gain on 2nd down. Called back due to a holding penalty at 2nd and 20. We tried to get some of it back on a check down to the running back. He only got 4 yards. It's 3rd and 16. We finna give up, bro. We finna give up. And then you throw the wide receiver screen to Antonio Williams. He makes a guy miss. He makes another guy miss. And he ends up getting 18 yards. And a 1st down. Keeps the drive alive. You end up going down and scoring a touchdown. We don't have that until now. We didn't have that until now. That's the thing I'm most excited about. Same thing I said about Chig Okonkwo. When's the last time we had a tight end that could take a 2-yard pass and turn it into a 22-yard gain? Vernon Davis and Jordan Reed. What are we talking about? 2017 is the last year those guys were here. Somewhere in that neighborhood, 2018 maybe. Like, I think Vernon Davis was here in Terry's rookie season of 2019. So I think it was 2019. That's the first game of Terry's career, which was the Vernon Davis catch, jump over the guy on the sideline, run for the touchdown on the first possession of the game. So, yeah, Vernon Davis was here in 2019. Like, what are we talking about? And even Vernon at that stage of his career wasn't really making guys miss. Jordan Reed is the last guy that was making dudes miss out in space at the tight end position. So you got to go back probably two years prior to 19, I think was the last time Jordan Reed was here. So I'm excited about this new element that we're unlocking in this offense with guys that can catch the ball and make something happen with it. And nobody on this roster is better at doing that than Antonio Williams. But just to be able to get a guy that can win, that can break dudes off something proper from the slot, gives you something that we just haven't had here. It gives Terry a legitimate running mate. Still don't have another guy on the outside because I really believe, as you do too, that Antonio Williams is going to be best served in the slot. But it gives you another guy that teams have to worry about defensively. And if you don't, you will get cooked. And the minute you start keying in on Antonio Williams, or we getting chiggy with it, and now you worried about Chig, there's Terry over the top for 67. We know Terry can still run. The only thing we need to make our cipher complete now is Brandon Ayuk. Dare I say it, but even if we don't get him, there's always an opportunity to go out here and sign another one of these receivers, a Jawan Jennings. Always bring him up. And that'll complete your cipher. But right now, if you didn't do anything else at receiver, you'd have pretty formidable offense. A pretty damn tough offense to stop. Pretty tough offense to stop. And if you had added Brandon Ayuk and no other receiver, or you had added another boundary receiver, like some of us were, hoping, like a Ted Hurst, for instance, or Deshaun Stribling. If you added one of those guys, you still wouldn't have had a slot winner, because if Ayuk got here, he ain't a slot winner. You still would have been asking for the same thing. Now you're not asking for that anymore. It's a big, big pickup for the Commanders, man. Adding in Antonio Williams, game changer. And I look at him as a guy that is an immediate impact guy day number one. Same thing I said about Sonny Styles is the same exact way I feel about Antonio Williams. You're going to feel his presence immediately as a fan. Remember I told y'all when we were signing Frankie Louie, I said, you guys are going to love this guy. You're going to love him. Watch what I tell y'all. And immediately y'all fell in love with Frankie Louie. You're going to fall in love with Antonio Williams. Just the same way that I did, you're going to fall in love with Antonio Williams because he's a dog. He doesn't play at 5'11", $190, basically. He doesn't play at that. He plays like he reminds me a lot of Steve Smith in that way, with the tenacity that he plays with. That's how you fall in love with a player. How hard they play. That's why they fell in love with Revo, right? That's why they fell in love with All-Pro Revo, because he just plays hard, man. You can say what you want about Revo, but Revo plays hard. How can you not root for a guy that plays hard? It's why I was like, yo, Sheldon Day can be on the roster, man. Even though Sheldon Day ain't making no plays, Sheldon Day play hard, man. I can't be mad at that. A guy that just plays extremely hard. Like, I could tell y'all right now, just off of watching him in one game last year, one of my favorite players was about to be Dietrich Wise. And oh, by the way, we talk about all these edge rushers. We don't never bring up Dietrich Wise, ever. He's back too, We about to take a look at this Deppy in a little bit. Dietrich Wise is back, y'all. Like, we talk about all these edge rushers. We'll never bring Dietrich Wise play hard, man. That Giants game last year, I was like, yo, Dietrich Wise is out here out hustling dudes. Like, really making it tough on dudes to block him because he just being OC. I love it. That's how you going to feel about Antonio Williams. Like, he going to catch a pass, and the corner going to be right there, and he going to drag that corner little ass for an extra 3 yards. You're like, Antonio, bro, that corner bigger than you. He don't give a shit. Get on my back and go on this ride, bro. Finna take you on a 3-yard ride. There's a catch against, I want to say it's like Cincinnati or somebody. And he's in the midst of running a beautiful route. His quarterback, because his quarterback's ass, Cade Klubnik, throws it right to him, and the defender is literally standing right next to him. Inside the man's jersey. He probably could smell his breath. He was so close. And he's like, oh shit, you throwing me the ball, bro. He's right here. He just caught the bitch. Anyway, then the defender was like, oh shit, you got the ball. Why did he throw it? I'm standing right here. He's like, I don't know why he threw it, but I got it now, so I got to do something with it. And he just proceeds to take this dude. That ball was caught at the 5. He drags that dude all the way down to the 1-yard line. And you're just like, bro, what the F, bro? Really? That's the type of time we on? Yeah. Yeah, that's the type of time we on, man. He different. I wouldn't lie to you. He different. I don't get this excited about just anybody. He different, man. We got us one in the 3rd round. This is what you call stealing in the draft. We just stole. We weren't supposed to get Antonio Williams at 71. I don't know what the rest of the league was doing and why they saw fit to pick 16 tight ends in the 2nd round before these receivers, but I appreciate it, man. Big ups to all of those teams that decided that Caleb Douglas and all of these damn tight ends were a much better value than a guy like Antonio Williams. I truly appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. You made my weekend. All right, so we are now moving right along to our next prospect. And this one, I think, caught some people off guard. We all assumed that the first pick of day number 3 was going to be a corner. Newsflash, there weren't any good corners left. I think Keith Abney II was the only good corner left, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I think he went right after this pick, not too long thereafter. He might have gone right before the pick. But I was wondering what Adam Peters was going to do. There was one guy on the board at the time of this pick that I would have preferred them to select, and that was Jalen Kilgore, a.k.a. Kill Switch. But they saw fit to go after an edge, and I can't be mad at it. I'm going to say something that I don't know if it can be misconstrued or not, but I'll explain myself here in a second. But of all the players that we've taken in this draft, this next player we're about to talk about that was selected in the 5th round, 187th overall, or 147th, excuse me, overall, has the highest upside of any player we've taken in this draft. That includes Sonny Styles. Talking about Joshua Josephs, edge rusher out of Tennessee. All right, so Joshua Joseph, edge rusher out of Tennessee, 6'3", 242 pounds. Really, really good athlete. He is a guy that I look at his measurables, I look at his tape, and it doesn't make sense to me. Like, the math ain't mathing. Why is your best season of your career from a sack production standpoint this past year, which is a good thing, it's your best season, it's your last season, that's what you want leaving college football. Why is it that it's only 4 sacks? You watch the tape, you see a lot of near misses, right? A lot of, hey, he just got there as a quarterback, getting rid of the football. But I see some gaps in his game that can be closed and what that could do for his production. But when you have the length that this, and again, you can't coach this. Either you got this or you don't. You either blessed with it or you're not. You see a guy like him do what he does, and you start to think to yourself, how can we maximize what this guy does? And I think that's going to be the job of this staff, is to maximize a guy like Joshua Josephs. So I remember when we drafted, and I brought this up on my breakdown. And if you're looking for the thorough breakdown of all of these prospects, especially the day 3 guys, which we're getting into now, I did an individual video for all of them. So check that out. Pros and cons. So I've already gone into that with Joshua Josephs. But when you look at his frame, and I compared him, the first thing I did when I broke down Joshua Josephs is I compared him to another draft pick the Commanders made 2 years ago in Javonte Jean-Baptiste, and how similar they were in terms of their makeup physically. Javonte Jean-Baptiste was a little bit taller at 6'4", almost 6'5", but the weight was very similar. The arm length was similar. Josephs actually has him, which is hard to believe because Javonte had like nearly 34-inch arms. This guy has over 34-inch arms, which is NBA caliber wingspan. You're talking about a guy with probably close to a 7', 7'1" wingspan here, right? That's NBA stuff. We don't talk about wingspans usually with pass rushers. Normally that's a conversation that we have about tackles and NBA players, right? Sometimes you have it with NFL players if your arms are too short, like we did with Ruben Bain, but having long arms helps. It's not a requisite. Just don't have super short arms, right? This guy's, vines for arms. And unlike a lot of guys with length, we've seen guys with stupid long arms, like Montez Sweat when he got here, just super long arms. But it was rare to see Montez lock those arms out as a pass rusher. He'd do it all the time, which is why you could barely run to Montez's side, because he'd lock those arms out. Now he controls the rep. And as soon as the ball carrier comes in, Montez is going to shed you and get to the ball. Like, Montez is really good against the run. We didn't have any complaints about Montez, the run defender. Our issue was Montez Sweat, the pass rusher, right? You can see a lot of that with Josephs as well. He's got the uncanny ability to lock his arms out. And I like the shock and awe I see in his hands, because he can shake a guy and, I call it latch and snatch. Latch on, snatch, right? That's a great move for him. And if he can really lean into that, make that his fastball, mix in some speed rushes, then get a crossover. It'd be nice if he could add a spin into his toolbox. That would be all he would need. Long arm of the law would be great too. With that kind of length, you would love a pole vault. Long arm of the law is what I call it, where you just use one arm, because as we all know, one arm is longer than two. You ever tried dunking a basketball? Much easier to dunk a basketball with one hand than there is two, because you need to then have your body centered and you have to go up with both arms. Whereas you don't have to have your body centered for one arm. You can stretch your body this way and you can go up like this. When you got two, you got to both now be here, right? You go up with one, you can do this. Now you can stretch this arm out even further, right? If you don't believe me, just do the test, right? Have someone go like this and then have someone go like this, right? Push you in your chest with one arm and you reach out with two arms and you see the difference, right? How much further you can get with one arm extended versus two. So if he could learn how to, and one of the biggest things that he's going to have to find a way to master, and I think this comes with him getting stronger, is speed to power. He doesn't really possess that right now, because he's got an explosive first step. When he times it up, he's got an explosive get off, which is why I said it's crazy he doesn't have more sacks, but he also doesn't have a bevy of moves. So while there's this explosive first step, if I'm a tackle, I'm not worried about him changing gears, him crossing over or spinning. So even if he wins initially on that first step, and it's a good one, I don't worry about him trying to get me to open up too soon and he might cross over and go inside. My first inclination is to just get out of my stance, fly out of my stance. And even if I'm a little late in party, just push him up the field. And you see that happen to Josephs way too often. Just push him up the field, right? But he's so relentless, he doesn't stop on the play. And a couple of his sacks are him just continuing to round the quarterback, continuing to run, and you run into a sack. But I want to see him be able to turn that corner. How you getting to the quarterback is just as much mental as it is physical. Do you know how good these tackles are in the NFL? You know how good they are? They're so good. And because they're so good, you can't just beat them physically. If it was just about physicality, they'd win 90% of the reps. It's about mentally making them think. It slows them down. They don't know what's coming. They're looking for this, and then they get this. If I'm looking speed and you hit me with power, oh shit, you got me. I'm off balance. I wasn't expecting that. I'm looking power. I'm anchoring down, and now you run past me with speed. You got me. I want to open up my hips. I want to turn that gate open and get to this speed rush, but I'm scared if I leave the gate open, he might go inside. It's all about up. That's why you got to have a plan. All right, I'm setting him up. Speed, speed, speed. Now he's thinking his speed. He going to open up them hips. I'm going to go inside this time. It's all mental. Now he's thinking, okay, can't be too, I can't be too aggressive opening up out of my stance because he might try to cross me over and go inside. Now I'm messing around. I'm tying him around his neck. It's a holding penalty, or I'm just beat. My quarterback's paying the price for it. Joseph, he's not there yet. No rush plan, no speed to power. Got to get a little bit stronger. But boy, the athleticism is there. And the thing you can't teach, that length, boy, is something vicious. This guy has a chance to be, like I said, if he can put it all together, he's got a chance to be a double-digit sack getter. I think what I'm hoping he turns into is a guy that can get you 6 to 8 sacks in any given season. But if he maximizes his talents, we're talking about a double-digit sack getter here in Joshua Josephs. And he stops the run. That length allows him to control a lot of reps. Stack, shed. And he does a really good job of that. And because of his length, he's able to then latch on to ball carriers. It isn't always the most powerful tackle, but he gets his hands on guys, and then he slows them down, drags them down to the ground, or he goes for a little bit of a ride, but he's going to get them down on the ground. So this is a guy that I'm extremely intrigued by. Like, when you talk about the pass rushers in this draft, there was like a cutoff for me. And I would say it was him being Joshua Josephs, and there was an edge rusher out of Auburn. Can't quite think of his name right now. And I don't remember exactly where he went. Matter of fact, I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look it up right now. There was an edge rusher out of Auburn. Those were my cutoffs, right? And I think that edge rusher went not too far after our guy. Kaytron Crawford. That was my cutoff. It was Joshua Josephs, Kaytron Crawford. Those were the cutoff, because I thought all the other guys, the Danny Dennis Suttons and the Romello Heights, those guys, like Dallas took LT Overton, not interested. I'm good. Colts took George Gums Jr., not interested. I'm good, right? Kaytron Crawford and Joshua Josephs were my two guys, like the cutoff for me. I liked Jyshawn Barham out of Michigan. Derek Moore was one of my favorite pass rushers in this draft out of Michigan. Gabe Yakis out of Illinois went to the Patriots. I liked him. TJ Parker was another one out of Clemson that I liked. There were a lot of really good rushers, but there was a limit where I like cut it off. Like, if you can't get this guy, then don't worry about it. Just go to a different position. It's not worth it. We got Joshua Josephs, and I'm telling you right now, he's a guy that is so intriguing for so many different reasons, but that length is the thing that has me sold that he's going to be, worst case scenario, he doesn't do anything other than what he was in college. He's going to be a disruptive force. He'll never be the sack guy that we want him to be, which will be very disappointing. But again, he's a 5th round pick, but he will be disruptive. He'll be disruptive. He'll bat balls down at the line of scrimmage. He'll force fumbles. I told you already, he forced 6 fumbles in the last 2 years, right? 3 in 24, 3 more in 25. That length as he's being pushed around the quarterback to reach out and hit that ball out of there, that's something that translates to the NFL level. He will be a disruptive force. And if the quarterback, in college, they get rid of the ball lightning quick. Unless you're running a deep concept down the field that requires a quarterback to hold on to it, or you got a quarterback that doesn't read the field well. A lot of RPOs, a lot of quick screens, a lot of underneath passes, a lot of shallow crosses, a lot of mesh concepts. The ball comes out very quickly in college football. So there's a chance that you won't get there. NFL, these concepts, a little bit longer to develop, give you more of a chance to get there. If he doesn't develop any more than he already is right now, he'll be, he'll be what we saw this year this is the floor for me, for him. The floor for me, for him, is what we got out of what was the edge rusher we had last year that we signed that ended up, what he signed with the Titans this year? He set a career high with us with sacks this past year. Played really hard. We liked him a lot. It was unfortunate that his role got expanded to where he didn't get to be the situational pass rusher he was supposed to be. Who I'm talking about? Y'all give me his name, because I ain't gonna be able to think about it. Jacob Martin. Thank y'all. Jacob Martin. Worst case scenario, he's Jacob Martin. Best case scenario, he's 2024 version of Dante Fowler Jr. that got us double-digit sacks. So think about him in that context, right? Now, he's going to stop the run better than Dante Fowler Jr. did, okay? So don't think about him in, he can get to the quarterback, but he can't stop the run. He ain't getting washed in the run game. He ain't getting washed in the run game. But think about him in that context. If he maximizes his talents, he's a double-digit sack getter. If he doesn't, he's Jacob Martin. You can live with that. We can live with that. So, really love that pick too. Really, really enjoyed that pick in the 5th round because, again, I was dead set on corner, and there really weren't any corners. I think Keith Abney, if I'm not mistaken, Keith Abney II was the only corner that I thought was worth a selection in the 5th round where we were drafting left. Don't quote me on this, but I believe he was left because I remember me and Rio were going back and forth about who was all left, and those guys kept coming off the board, and Abney was the only one that was left. So it was between Abney, Jalen Kilgore, and Joshua Josephs, and they decided on Josephs, and you got no complaints out of me. We had one edge rusher under contract after this season, just like the running back position that we're about to talk about next. One under contract. I just talked about, we re-signed Dietrich Wise, 1-year deal. Charles Omenihu, 1-year deal. Dorrance Armstrong Jr., last year of his deal, right? Drake Jackson, 1-year deal. Kaytron Chason, 1-year deal. I think this is, so you would have 2, and I think he's going to get cut, so he's not technically going to be under contract, but Javonte Jean-Baptiste would have been under contract too. But I think he's getting cut this year. He's made the roster each of the first 2 years of his career here. You just heard the list of edge rushers that we have now, right? And we just drafted another one. Before we even drafted Joshua Josephs, we had Dietrich Wise, Dorrance Armstrong, Kaytron Chason, Adafe Owe, Drake Jackson. I feel like I'm missing somebody. I may not be. And Charles Omenihu. That's who I'm missing. That's 6 edge rushers. Before we drafted Joshua Josephs, do you really think there's a chance in hell that Javonte Jean-Baptiste is making this roster? No, this is his replacement right here. Hell, Drake Jackson probably not making this roster either, right? If we're being honest with each other, Drake Jackson isn't making this roster unless he shows vast improvement from what we saw, which I expect, by the way. Remember, he was coming back playing football for the first time in nearly a year and a half. So I expected rust. I expected him to not look like himself, and he didn't. But if he can't show us more than what we saw at the end of the year last year, he ain't making this team. Neither is Javonte John Baptiste. Because they're not cutting Joshua Josephs. So, yeah, really excited about the edge rushing position. Now you have a second guy that'll be under contract next year. Not in the Dafi Owe and now Joshua Josephs. And the same thing we'll be able to say about the running back position, which is the next position that we're going to talk about. But before we do that, I've got a couple of sponsors that I got to get to. Got to pay a few bills. So let's get to one of our sponsors for tonight's show. All right. Well, if that one didn't work, the other one's not going to work either. I can just do a regular read for that one. That sucks. I'm really disappointed. I am really disappointed. What am I looking for? Oh, that's what I'm looking for. See, yeah, and it won't let me do it over there. All right. So I won't be able to do it. I guess I won't be able to do it. So let's just get to our next player in the draft, Kaytron Allen. So Kaytron Allen, selected in the 6th round, 187th pick overall, the first of 2 6th-round selections, was really shocked that we went running back here. I thought they were going to wait. I don't know why, but I thought they were going to take the Oregon running back and I didn't want him either, by the way. Because the Ravens had taken Adam Randall, and I was so fixated on Adam Randall for this team because I thought Adam Peters was so I thought Adam Randall was going to be the pick in the 5th round. I'm trying to think, did the Ravens take him? Yeah, I think the Ravens took him before our 5th round pick. Let me just double check, but I'm pretty sure the Ravens took him out because I remember Ed texted us in the group text that Adam Randall was gone, and the Ravens took him in the 5th round, 34th pick overall. We were the 5th round. We were the 6th. Oh, no. I'm trying to look. 6th round. No, I think he was available in the 5th round. He was available in the 5th round. He was not available in the 6th round when we had this pick. He was available. Let me check the edge rusher. I'm pretty sure we was like the 10th or 11th pick in the 5th round, excuse me. He didn't go until, 5th round, 7th pick was Joshua Josephs. Randall didn't go until the 34th pick or so. So he was available in the 5th round at our selection. I thought we were going to take him there, and we didn't. And then he didn't make it to the 6th round. And they then went to, and maybe this guy was their plan all along, Kaytron Allen, one of the most productive college football running backs we've seen in recent memory. This is a guy that set the Penn State record for most yards rushing. And again, I stated this on his breakdown yesterday. We've seen some dynamic runners come out of that Penn State program that were top 5 picks, the likes of, Curtis Enos and Kajana Carter, more recently Saquon Barkley, and none of those guys had more rush yards at Penn State than Kaytron Allen. So that's a pretty big deal. Super productive back at 5'11", 216. Runs behind his pads, runs with a physical forward lean, falls forward consistently, gets yards after contact. He's not a guy that's going to make you miss. We talked about this yesterday. Doesn't offer you anything as a 3rd down back, not going to catch it out of the backfield. He's not terrible in pass protection, but that's not a strength of his either. So he doesn't offer you anything on 3rd downs. He doesn't offer much in the way of special teams, although if he wants to make this team and be a part of the daily, the game day action and activities, he's going to have to run down and make some tackles on special teams because he's not a big enough part of the offense right now to exclude himself from playing special teams. That's not something he's had to do. probably since he was in high school. So he's not really adept at, special teams right now. So right now, I'm going to tell you that I fully anticipate him making this football team and this roster, but I do not anticipate him. I do not anticipate him being on the active game day roster this year, because I don't think he's good enough on special teams. I could see J-Mac getting cut, J-Mac being brought back onto the practice squad, and then them elevating J-Mac on game days and having Kaytron Allen be inactive, right? Similar to Cole or K Madrano, right? Basically, K Madrano on the roster, but wasn't active for game days for the most part. I think you're gonna see the same thing with Kaytron Allen, but if he can show them that he can contribute on special teams, I wouldn't be shocked to see him actually get some carries this year in his rookie season, because he brings something to the table that none of the other backs in the room do. And that's just this big physical way of carrying the football. Like, not that, White is this small, because, White, they're pretty much the same size. Like, White runs hard and you can run him in between the tackles, but it looks different when it's Kaytron Allen, right? And guys like him, it just looks different when they start running downhill. And so I just think he offers you that Chris Rodriguez, Brian Robinson Jr. type of back that you want to have in your back pocket. You want that in your stable. I've seen someone compare him to Tyler Algier. I don't necessarily agree with, like, they're the same type of back. They have similar qualities, but I think Algier is probably, I would say, faster than Kaytron Allen, and I would say that Algier has a little bit more explosiveness to him. Like, Algier sees a hole, he can exploit it. Kaytron Allen, not necessarily going, like, I don't want to say he's a monotone runner, because he has patience. And when you're a monotone runner, your gear is just stuck. So as soon as you get the ball, you're running at one speed and it doesn't stop. Kaytron Allen can, show the patience to the hole. The old adage, patience through, explosive through, right? Or explode through. You don't necessarily get the explode part, but he does, speed up enough to get to that hole and exploit it. But I could see some similarities between Algier and him, but the biggest one that I would say is that the physicality. You love a Tyler Algier. We wanted him in free agency. I can't say we. I wanted Tyler Algier in free agency because of the physicality that he plays with, that he runs with. And you're getting that in Kaytron Allen. So this is a guy that led the nation in fourth quarter yards and average in the fourth quarter. This is a guy that wore down defenses, and when it was money time, when it was time to put the game away, and Penn State wasn't leading in a bunch of games this year. We know the season went haywire. Their head coach got fired in season. It was a disaster. They started out with national championship, aspirations. They were at one point, I think, as high as number 2 in the nation this year, and then it turned into a shit show. But when they did have the lead in the fourth quarter, when it was time for them to put games away, they turned to Kaytron Allen, and 9 times out of 10, he delivered. So they had a mean, backfield 1-2 punch, him and Singleton, and both got drafted this year. And again, as I said yesterday, this is a Norfolk born and bred boy. So shout out to Kaytron Allen for being a 7.57er. You know how we do it. We in the building, stand up, right? Norfolk's finest. All right. Went to Norview High School. Now, I don't want to go too far now, because I ain't repping Norview, right? But shout out to Norfolk, man. It's all about being from 757, being from the city, being from the 7 cities. It's all love, man. So I'm not out here repping the pilots, though. It's not what we out here doing. So, but shout out to Kaytron Allen, man. That's a really good addition to this running back room. Anxious to see, like, the numbers game is getting real interesting with the roster, and we'll take a look at that a little bit later on. But it's getting real interesting how some of the number games are going to go with the roster now. So adding another running back to the mix is going to make things really interesting. I just figured out what I'm going to do with my my streams. I'm gonna have to insert those in there because it clearly isn't happening by just playing them. It clearly isn't happening. Yeah, got me just with my eyes closed, looking crazy. Yeah, that's wild. So I'll just have to go back and insert them into the video. We'll go back and we'll insert them into the video. All right, so let's move on to the next pick. And this one it felt like a formality. It felt like, okay, we don't have a choice. We have to do this. I remember talking to Rio, and Rio was like, hey, this is a center, right? And I was like, yeah, it's a center. we all agree this is center. We didn't know what center. I think I guessed we guessed center for the Kaytron Allen pick because we got to the 6th round and it ended up being Kaytron Allen. By the time we got to the second 6th round pick, there were really, I don't think any of the centers were left. Let me go and check. But at that point, I was like, I really don't know. Feels like it's going to be a center. It's got to be center. I remember me and Rio saying it's got to be center, but didn't feel like any of those guys were left. Let's see. He went 6th round, 26th pick. Parker Brailford went in the 5th. Slaughter went all the way in the 2nd round. That felt like a bit of a reach, but okay. Coogan went, which I did not want Pat Coogan as a former Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan. He's solid, but that's not my cup of tea. Jagger Burton, I think he went before. Yep, 5th round. Remember Jagger Burton coming off the board saying, damn, that was the guy that I always had in my mock draft. Trey Zoon went in the 3rd round. Logan Jones went in the 2nd round. Brian Parker went in the 6th round, 8th pick out of Duke. Our guy went 28th, so he went off the board. Sam Heck, I think he was available in the 5th. Yep, 5th round, 4th pick. He went right before we took Joshua Josephs. So Heck came off the board fairly early. Connor Liu was gone a long time ago, 4th round. So yeah, Gulbin was like the last of any of the safety the centers rather. And the crazy part about him is I don't even know if I played the intro to him. Let's get to our next pick, second 6th rounder, 209th overall in the 6th round, offensive lineman out of Michigan State, Matt Gulbin. So Matt Gulbin is an interesting guy because we know that this team loves guys with the versatility to play multiple positions on the interior of the offensive line. That's, I think, almost a requirement now in the NFL. If you're going to be, you can't just be a center. Teams don't just carry centers anymore. Unless you're the starter, the clear-cut starter at center, you better be able to play all 3 interior offensive line positions. Like we would have never asked Tyler Biadasz to play guard, right? He was here strictly just to be a center, right? You have to carve out that niche. Otherwise, you're a utility man as an interior offensive lineman, just like we're seeing now with Nick Allegretti. Nick Allegretti was bought here more likely than not to be a guard, but he could also play center. Probably his more natural position is center. But he was being played at guard. and he could play both guard positions, and now he's going to ultimately be our starting center. That's what it looks like. Some are hoping that Matt Gulbin can take over that spot. I highly doubt that, not in his rookie year at least. They're hoping that he can show flashes of why they like him. And again, this is another reason why this preseason will be a lot of fun. We actually have specific guys that we need to watch, like a Matt Gulbin, to see what he's doing, to see if he's worth, potentially starting next season. This ain't about this year. And it's also about looking to see if he's going to be able to step in if something were to happen, because right now, don't talk to me about Julian Good-Jones, man. Don't even talk to me. That's the name you saying out your mouth. Don't even talk to me, bro. Julian Good-Jones ain't supposed to be on this roster. So we got to find us an actual backup. I don't know if that guy actually exists or not here. And do we need to go out and sign that guy? But I can tell you this much. If we don't see enough out of Matt Gulbin in the preseason, they're going to have to go get somebody. And that guy might not be on the roster right now, but when the cuts happen, they may have to go get them a veteran. Once the cuts happen, late August. Because I'm not comfortable with Matt Gulbin being our backup center right now. There needs to be a buffer in between him and our starter, Nick Allegretti. But the good thing about Gulbin is eventually, if he's on this roster this year, he has experience playing both guard positions and center. This was his first year actually playing center full time. He started out his career at right guard, then got injured, came back, ended up being the left guard. And those were his first 2 years as a starter, basically. He was at Wake Forest for 4 years, started there the final 2 years of his career at Wake Forest, and took over his sophomore year, basically, at Wake Forest towards the end. Then he started his whole entire junior year, his whole senior year, transferred over to Michigan State for his fifth year as a graduate, and started at center the entire year. And that's probably what ultimately got him drafted. That's why we drafted him. But again, he's going to have the ability to play all three positions. He may turn out to be a better guard than he is center. And if that happens, cool. We need a center, but you don't turn down quality offensive linemen. And he may turn out to be a quality offensive lineman. Again, the shorter arms aren't really an issue at center. It's a much bigger issue at other positions. On the interior of the offensive line, it's not as big a deal. That's why you kick guys inside from tackle that have shorter arms, because you can get away with it inside, because, again, the guys that you're blocking don't necessarily have vines for arms as defensive tackles. They're usually pretty short arm guys themselves. So you can get away with it. So his arm length isn't the biggest issue. I think he does a pretty good job of mirroring guys in front of him for the most part. He could get a little bit stronger, but he fights his ass off. I love the way that he competes up front. He's not bashful. He's not one of these guys that's intimidated by a 325-pound defensive tackle. He'll get in there and he'll get into a fist fight with these dudes, and he ain't backing down. So I love that. Sometimes, like I talked about with that length that doesn't exist, his arm length, his edges can be attacked, and guys can turn the edge on him a little bit. He'll fight, man. He'll duck his head. He'll put his full face mask, forearm, and every other body part he's got into that guy to try to push him up the field and let the quarterback step up in the pocket, sometimes to no avail. But for the most part, he's one of those guys that he finds a way to do his job. It isn't always pretty, but it's gritty, and most importantly, it gets done. It's a dub for him on that particular rep. So I'm interested to see what he looks like at center. I think he's athletic enough to play center in this particular scheme, the ZBS that we'll be using. I've talked about his lateral quickness not being the best, and that's what you need in a ZBS, especially as you're trying to get to those reach blocks, which is a big part of the ZBS. He's a guy that can be outreached, if you will. And so I think he's a lot better when he's going downhill. which this is not going to be a I don't think we're going to be playing much of a gap scheme, which we shifted from. So I'm interested to see if he's got enough athleticism, because he's not a guy that has cement, in his boots, but he isn't a guy that is like this elite gifted athlete either. So wondering if he's got enough, athleticism. When I look at him, I'm like, there's no way he's not a better athlete than Nick Allegretti. And Nick Allegretti is right now going to be penciled in as our starting center. Hey, don't rule out Brandon Coleman. Don't rule out Brandon Coleman as the starting center of this team. I highly doubt it, but you just never know, because they're going to want some athleticism at center. Who knows? Coleman may find a home at center. But Gulbin is going to get an opportunity to compete for backup center. He may be able to come in right away and win that backup job. I'm anxious to see if he can do that or not. If he can't, they're going to have to do something. Got to have the proper depth at that particular position. But being that he can play multiple positions on the offensive line, I think is going to bode well for him, give him a chance to be on this roster, because he does not have to make the roster. I think the other 5 guys, in this draft are absolutely making the roster. If you ask me if there was one player who has the least amount of chance to make the roster, and I think all of them are gonna make the roster. But if you ask me who has who's most likely to miss out on making the roster, I tell you it's Matt Gulbin. They're not cutting the 7th rounder, and they're not cutting the previous 4 picks before Gulbin. So he's the one, because that's the guy you can cut and get back onto your practice squad and develop. Not saying that somebody's going to take Athan Kaliakmanis from you, but a team is more likely to snatch him off your practice squad if you cut him than 6th round center that, they got their own developmental center on their roster. They don't care about yours, right? They got their own developmental offensive lineman that they're trying to sneak onto the practice squad. They ain't worried about yours. Nobody's hunting down Matt Gulbin off your practice squad. You can cut him and get him back. But you're not going to be able to cut Kaytron Allen or Joshua Josephs and get them back onto your roster. They weren't looking to cut those guys anyway, but you're not going to be able to. You can cut a Matt Gulbin and get him back on your roster. So I think it's a solid pick. I'm intrigued by him, but by no means am I sold on him as the future of the center position. That I can't give you right now, but it wouldn't shock me if he developed into a quality starting center in this league. But that's not happening in his rookie season, and I'd have to see more before I could believe that he would be the starting center of this team moving forward. So hopefully he develops. That's going to be one of those guys that you got to see develop. Then lastly, our 7th round selection, 223rd overall. I think this one caught a lot of people by surprise. I wasn't shocked by this pick as much as I was like, they spent a pick on him. But remember, I told you guys on my Commanders mock draft, which I did not get a single pick right. I think this is the first time maybe in 3 or 4 years I didn't get a single pick right. Not a single one. They threw me some massive curveballs this year. I told you at the end of that video that I had guarantees on UDFAs. And I'm going to have a UDFA video for you tomorrow. But I said one of these 3 guys, and I said, assuming that they don't get drafted. Remember, I had the Gil Howard defensive tackle out of Texas Tech. He got drafted in the 5th round by the Lions, so he wasn't available. I had Athan Kaliakmanis, and then it was one more guy that I had. And I'm not sure if he got drafted or not, but I know Skylar Gil Howard got drafted by the Lions, and Kaliakmanis obviously got drafted by us. I didn't think they would draft him, but there was interest. There was real interest around the league in Athan Kaliakmanis. So You can sit there with your bullshit if you want, like, oh, they didn't have to spend the pick on him. I don't know why they took the quarterback. Somebody else would have taken him in the 7th round if we didn't. I think they did the right thing. So here's the 6th and final pick for the Washington Commanders, 7th round, 223rd overall, quarterback out of Rutgers. Athan Kaliakmanis is the pick. So this is a guy here that I love this pick. I absolutely love it. This is a guy that I could see being the future of the backup quarterback position here in Washington. And I love that because before his pick, I couldn't see a path to the future of the backup quarterback here. It was just a steady revolving door of Marcus Mariota, aging veterans, and no young guy that was developmental prospect, which to speak of. I've been dying for a developmental prospect here, been crying for one. The last time, let's just be honest with each other. When's the last time we drafted a real developmental quarterback? I can't think of his name, but he used to play for the Philadelphia Eagles. He was here for about maybe 3 years. He wasn't any good. I think we drafted him out of Indiana. This had to be back in, I don't know. He helped us clinch the division. The Eagles put him in the game in 2020, and he was ass, and we beat him. We were going to beat him anyway. If Hurts had stayed in, he was awful that game. The only thing is we couldn't stop Hurts from running. Nate Sudfeld, thank you. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Poopin' for Noopin'. Nate Sudfeld is the last time we actually spent a draft pick. How long ago was that? What was Nate Sudfeld? The 2017 draft? 2018? What the hell is going on here? Nate Sudfeld has to be even further back because he was on the Eagles roster in 2020. So Sudfeld had to be, what, the 16 draft or something like that? I'm actually curious. Somebody look it up for me. Put it in the comment section. Nate Sudfeld, what draft was he in? That'll tell you the last time we actually spent a draft pick on a developmental quarterback. That's a damn shame. If you're doing it, 6th round pick in 2016, thank you for that, Colin Talk Sports. That's insane. Pure insanity. We haven't spent a draft choice on a developmental quarterback in 10 years. But that speaks to the volatility of this roster. You can't be drafting developmental players when your roster isn't even set, where you're just trying to figure out how to get good football players on your roster. To hell with developmental ones. You want guys that help fill out your damn roster. Well, Nate Sudfeld was ass. And I can tell you right now, this kid here, Athan Kaliakmanis, is way better than Nate Sudfeld ever was. But developmental is developmental for a reason. He's 7th round for a reason, and he's going to have to continue to develop if he wants to stay in the league and be productive. If you're looking for the breakdown, I've already done that. I'll just give you a couple of tidbits. Quick release, average athlete at best. I won't call him a below average athlete, but he's not an above average. He's probably an average athlete at best. But beautiful touch on the deep ball. Oh my gosh, his deep ball is gorgeous. One of his strengths is the quick release, accurate underneath, great pocket presence, and he does a great job of maneuvering the pocket because he's not a great athlete. So he has to be very mobile within the pocket. But the deep ball, precision and touch, beautiful. I love the fact that he's an ascending player. This is a guy that started, for the most part, 3.5 years in college. Started out his career at the University of Minnesota. Started there for, 2 years. Then transferred over to Rutgers. Started there for 2 years. And you just saw a guy that got better and better and better every single year. And it culminated in him almost having a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, 20 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He led the Big Ten in pass yards this past year. The completion percentage was up over 62%, which was a career high for him, which may not sound like much, but when you've been living in the 50s your entire career, getting north of 60 is a pretty big accomplishment. He took care of the football. The completion percentage went up. You could tell he was a more confident quarterback. He was reading the field better. He was seeing the field better. You could see the growth from early Athan Kaliakmanis to, Rutgers senior quarterback Athan Kaliakmanis. So I like what he embodies. I like his mental makeup. I think they did too. David Blau in particular. Probably love that about him. He's a confident dude, right? He's got a little swag to him. I like that. I think he's going to fit in the quarterback room really well, make a fine addition to that quarterback room. And I think he's going to be fun to watch in the preseason. And I think he's going to be a guy that 3 years from now, we're going to feel really confident about our backup quarterback situation. And it's going to suck because guys like him don't usually get second contracts with the team that drafted them. They usually go off somewhere else to have a chance to start, or at worst, a chance to be a bridge quarterback somewhere. And so, I mean, how we've seen these guys get drafted many a time before, where a guy gets drafted in a similar spot as a day 3 guy to be a backup to someone. And, they play well in the preseason. And if you're lucky, you'll get to flip them for a draft pick. But the likelihood is, they just be your backup quarterback. And then when free agency hits, you want them back, but somebody else is willing to give them a little piece of cheese. And you give them that bread, egg, cheese, and dough. Ain't nothing we can do about it because you're not overspending. This is why you're supposed to draft one of these dudes like every other year, just to prepare yourself. If he's out the door, then you get the next one, right? I think this could be the start of us having a competent backup situation in Washington. A great example of what I was just referring to. In Baltimore, Snoop Huntley, perfect Lamar Jackson backup. Why wouldn't you want him back if you're the Ravens? Perfect backup to Lamar Jackson. You don't need to go anywhere else. Don't need to draft another guy. This is the guy. Free agency hits. The Dolphins come calling, pay him a little bit more than the Ravens wanted to pay him. Boom, he's gone. He goes to Miami. He realizes very quickly this grass ain't even green. Forget about it being greener on the other side. This shit is brown. I want to go back to Baltimore. He did. He won them some big games that helped them get back to the playoffs. Now he's back in Baltimore where he belongs, right? But that's how it usually goes with these backups. You develop them. They turn out to be good. They're the perfect fit. But now somebody else wants your stuff. And I can see Athan Kaliakmanis in 3 years being to the point where we're like, man, we really like this kid. We feel good about him behind Jaden. And it's the same thing you see in Philadelphia, with their backup quarterback. Somebody's going to pay that kid. I can see somebody paying that kid. And Philly being like, all right, peace. It's been real. I'll be shocked if Philly don't deal him. I mean, I don't know what year we're in Tanner McKee. I don't know what year we're in with him. But I will say this, he embarrassed himself against the Commanders. I was so disappointed in Tanner McKee. He was supposed to run us out of the damn building. And instead, he ran us straight to a win with his stinking ass. But I could easily see a team saying, hey, we'll take Tanner McKee. We'll see. But I like Athan Kaliakmanis. I think there's a lot to like about him. And he's going to be a fun one this summer. He's going to be a fun one. He's going to be a fun one. So, in any event, let's get to the comment section. I guess I'll just do a quick little prize picks hit. I wasn't going to do one because I had a little quick prize picks video. I know this one ain't going to work, I'm assuming. Yeah, and that's not working because it's not moving. So I'll just do a quick little prize picks read real quick. Let me take that off the screen first because I only have it ready. I wasn't gonna do one. Just gonna do something quick so I wouldn't have to. And I'm not gonna bore y'all with it tonight because I'm not even in the mood for this prize pick shit, to be honest with y'all, because I got my ass whooped today, man. I got my ass whooped royally today. I'm so mad right now that I'm not even in the mood for this shit, this prize pick shit, because I got my ass towed up today by prize picks. And these games just were so uncooperative today. All it takes is one guy to just decide, like, let me get to it. Let me get to it real quick. That's not it. This is it. Shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring this stream. Prize Picks is America's #1 sports picks app. If you are not a member of the Prize Picks family, you are missing out. Down in the link of this video is the link to downloading the Prize Picks app. If you haven't already done it, use the promo code HMA as a first-time user. That will give you an opportunity to play $5, get $50 instantly in lineup bonuses. You can follow me on Prize Picks to see some of the bullshit that I'm doing, which today was not a good day for the kid. I tell you, boy. Guys like Scoot Henderson scored 0 points today. 0! In an NBA game in which you played over 20 minutes, you scored no points. Unreal, right? Like every dude that did every game, there was a guy that decided to dick me today. Like royally screw me. And that's a nasty sentence, and I mean every word of it. Like, I'm so upset right now with the way today went. It started with the first game. That one, I probably did it to myself, to be honest with you. But still, it was a 90s rock fight. The score was 38-36 at halftime. What am I supposed to do with that? We had guys that had 0 points in that game at halftime. You get to the second game, and that game was a disaster for me because Scoot Henderson decided he just wasn't going to show up and play basketball today. 0 points for Scoot Henderson. Then the third game, the Celtics just decided they were going to go into Philadelphia with Joel Embiid coming back and just beat the brakes off of these boys. Midway through the third quarter, they were up like 26 points. So I saw where that was going. I got nothing from key guys that were on the ticket. It ended up being pretty close, but Kelly Oubre didn't do anything tonight, and I wasn't asking for much from him. I think it was one more guy. Oh yeah, Edgecombe didn't do anything tonight. You can't ask a rookie in a postseason to step up for you too many times anyway. So I got what I deserved there probably. But ultimately, that and I quit after the third game. To be honest with you, I just quit after the third game because I was getting my ass whooped today, and I just got tired of it. So I didn't even mess around with the Lakers game, and I don't plan on it. So. Best of luck to you, though. If you want some of that Lakers action, there is the Lakers and Rockets. We'll see if the Lakers can complete this sweep tonight, but I'm out. They got me. My hands are up. They got me. But shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring this stream. And if you're interested in trying your hand, I'm going to be back tomorrow, though. Tomorrow's a new day. Tomorrow's a new day. I'll be back with unbridled confidence tomorrow. But right now, your boy is not in the mood. So big shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring this stream. Once again, HMA is the promo code. First-time users get $50 instantly in lineup bonuses when you play $5. Big shout-out to Prize Picks for sponsoring this stream. So let's get to the comment section. See what you guys have to say. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ree writes, what up, Lou? Says, you're my go-to guy. What's up, Ree? First and foremost, let me not be rude. Ree says, you're my go-to guy for Golden Domers. So tell me about Billy Schroff, the Bucks 5th rounder. I heard someone say he would have gone a couple rounds earlier had he stayed healthy. I don't know if he would have gone a couple rounds earlier if he'd have stayed healthy or not. in the way that this draft was wacky and weird, maybe he would have. But that was the story of his Notre Dame career, basically injuries. He started off at right guard, got injured, came off that right guard injury, and then ended up going over to left guard. He then was basically the starting, left guard for the team, but he got injured again this season. He was playing really well, actually, and then got injured probably like 6-7 games into the season, a knee injury that ended his season prematurely. Look, the skinny of it is this: solid player, doesn't have any discernible traits. He's not a tremendous athlete. He's not this big hulking figure. He's not super strong. He doesn't have super long, like there's no redeemable trait. Like he's just a tough ass dude that finds a way to get it done. Phone booth brawler is what they call him. Guys like him, where just in a short confined space, he's tough as nails. But like, to be honest with you, there's nothing. He's basic. There's nothing special about him. For me, like, can he start for you in a pinch? Sure. Is this a guy that you want starting for you, on a weekly basis? Nah, I wouldn't bank on it. I wouldn't bank on it. He's nothing special, but he could provide you with depth. So he's a 5th rounder for a reason. I'll just say that. He's a 5th rounder for a reason. Mask Pro, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Mask Pro writes, A- draft. AP learned not to reach. Your turn, 49ers. The 49ers, so it was crazy. So they had their press conference after their draft, and a lot of y'all, I'm pretty sure, don't follow the 49ers. But you've probably been following them a little bit closer now because of the Brandon Ayuk situation. There's a guy that covers that does the beat for them. And I'm forgetting his name right now, but I'm looking it up right now. And I'm about to tell you what his name is. And he a funny ass dude. He ain't shit either, right? So, let's see. I'm about to tell you what his name is. Oh man, let me see. Oh Lord, I can't find it. I cannot find that dude's name. I thought it was in here. Grant Cohen. That's his name. I still didn't find the shit. It just came to me finally. Grant Cohen is his name. He's a beat reporter. Really, he covers the 49ers, but he hates their organization. I've never seen a guy cover a team and hate that team with such disdain like Grant Cohen does. The 49ers. Generally, beat reporters, even if they don't grow up or even if they're not a fan of the team, like for instance, John Keim is a Cleveland Browns fan. He's a diehard Cleveland fan. He grew up in Cleveland, loves the Indians, the Browns. He's an Ohio State Buckeyes fan, et cetera, right? So, but John is also like by nature of his job, he is a Commanders fan. He wants to see the team do well because if they do well, business is booming for him as well. And then you start to develop relationships with these guys, and you're like, man, that's a really good dude. I want to see him do well. And so you start pulling for these guys. That is not Grant Cohen. He doesn't give a shit. He does not like Shanahan, John Lynch, none of those dudes. Anytime he gets a chance to shit on them, he does. So the first question after the draft for them is from Grant Cohen. Or one of the first questions. I can't say it's the absolute first question, but it's one of the first questions. And Grant Cohen basically asked them, why do they always reach for players? And he was talking about Deshaun Stribling. I was just like, damn, like that, the Kevin Hart meme when Don Cheadle told him how old he was, and he went, damn, right? That's how I felt about that. It's amazing that people be killing the 49. Now, they do reach. I'm not necessarily sure how bad of a reach, their entire draft was. Was Stribling at 33 a reach? Yeah. I mean, obviously, they couldn't have known what was to come, but did you see how the entire wide receiver position was largely ignored for an entire round? Jeremy Bernard and Deshaun Stribling were the only two receivers taken in the second round, amazingly enough. Neither of them were on your bingo card as guys that were going to go ahead of Antonio Williams and Zach Branch and guys like that. So we'll see if they learn how not to reach. But I would just tag the 49ers and say, it's your turn. Now you can just release Brandon Ayuk. You can just get rid of him now so we can get this process started. Clearly, Ayuk needs some structure. All right. He needs to be in somebody's off-season program. Please release him ASAP. It's not going to happen. But we can ask, right? Monster Cav, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Monster Cav writes, you see Fatima interview. He had me laughing my ass off. Love him. No, I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't been consuming as much of the draft stuff. I've been so busy. I'm going to take time after this stream tonight. I'm going to take some time to just consume as much draft stuff as possible. Just kind of go around and collect as much information. I haven't even seen all of the phone calls that, that they do with these players to, gauge the excitement. I haven't even done all of those, right? I haven't gotten as much of the content because I've been so worn out. I'm definitely going to engage in all of that stuff though. Like tonight into tomorrow, because I can finally exhale now, right? Female fan since 82. Whoa! Female fan since 82. Wowzers. That's a standing OB right there. Keep the claps going. Keep the claps going. Keep them going. Hey! Round of applause. Make them hands clap. Female fan since 82 with the $199 donation. Can't thank you enough for your generosity. Really, truly do appreciate you. That's a pretty, that might be the highest I've ever seen on this channel. That's a big one. I really, truly do appreciate you. Who writes, Lou, thanks for the great draft coverage. Thank you for the blessing, and thank you for being such a devout viewer and supporter of the Louie T Network. Can't thank you guys enough. That's all of you out there. But again, thank you for your immense generosity. Hey, cheers to you, female fan since 82. Cheers to you. Cheers to you for your donation. I'll take a sip to that. Says, thanks for the great draft coverage. Your response to the Antonio Williams pick was epic. Also, that face you made was some of the funniest shit I've ever seen. I loved it. Still laughing. Keep up the great work. Look, man, that was as raw of an emotion as you will get out of me in real time. Obviously, I was feeling great. I had my trusty handy-dandy wine accompany me to day number 2, and day 1 was just as much fun. Probably day 2 was a lot more fun because I was with my boys, kicking it, watching the draft with y'all. But day 1, we had a lot of fun on this channel, as we always do for the draft party. And that was raw emotion you got from me with the Antonio Williams pick. I always tell y'all, remember I told y'all when the Hail Mary happened, I was screaming like a little girl. Remember I told y'all that? That's how I was screaming right there. You got to see it firsthand, right? Like the voice gets high pitched. It's unbridled joy, and I don't care, right? Like I'm not trying to hide it. I'm not trying to be something that I'm not. In that moment, I was so excited for that pick because that's one of my favorite players in this draft. It was one of my favorite receivers in this draft. And I never get, me and Rio, we talk about this all the time. We never get what we want. You sit here for 3 months straight, for some people even longer. You know, I don't show up for the draft until I absolutely have to. This is not my favorite thing to do, talk about prospects. It's only then I like, as we get about a month out from the draft, I think it's usually right around like 2 months away. Because once the combine happens, that's when I start to get the itch. That's when I get bitten. But I'm still, even when the combine happens, it's still not time for me to dive in yet because free agency still hasn't happened. And you know, until free agency happens, I don't want to talk about nothing else, right? So locking in to the draft is a time-consuming, it's painstakingly time-consuming. You spend so much time talking about these prospects and, you know, you do these mock drafts over and over again and all these scenarios that we play out and we're hoping that somehow, some way, this player, because we've got this strong affinity for him, we hope these guys land in, and they never do. Every year we do these things and they never end up here in Washington. You watch these players go elsewhere and you're keeping an eye on them. And you're like, I always tell y'all, one of my favorite players in the league is the Baylor safety that went to the Houston Texans, right? I wanted him here in Washington so badly. And then he's gone to Houston and he's one of the best players in the league. And it happens to me every single year. And so I just expected it to happen again. Antonio Williams was not supposed to end up being a Commander. And then lo and behold, we get on the clock and I'm rattling off all the receivers that are still available. And Antonio Williams is still there. And I'm just like, there's no way they're going to take him, right? They're going to take Ted Hurst or they're going to take Zach Branch. And I would have been fine with any of them, but you would not have gotten the same excitement out of me as you would have for one of those receivers. Like, Antonio Williams is my guy. And to see that be the pick, you got raw emotion out of me. I can't front. And I know the face I made had to be crazy because I was wilding. I was like Eddie Murphy, y'all Coming to America, where he was screaming out the window, to be loved, to be loved. Oh, what a feeling, to be loved. And he was like, shut the up. I felt like a combination of that and then at halftime, yes, in the face. He's like, what are you talking about, man? It's halftime. Yes, this is my favorite part of the game. I was just so elated, man. And I'm glad I got to share that moment with y'all. I'm so glad y'all got to see that raw emotion because it's not often y'all get to see that raw emotion from me because I'm not live during live events very often, right? Like I don't watch games live. I do with the mob, but even then my camera usually isn't on just in case I need to snap off or, you know, the kids are doing some crazy shit in the background. Now I have my own office. I may be able to be live and you know, have my camera on because when I was watching the games before, I would be just in the living room, kids running around in the background. You know, you never know what you would get on camera. So raw emotion is always great it's great theater. And you guys got to see that. And so I appreciate you for the generosity. And once again, thank you for the blessing. Haven't seen numbers like that before on this channel. And if I have, it's been such a long time that I don't remember. So I don't know. That's a color that we don't see here very often. So big shout out to you, female fan since 82. One more time. Round of applause. Cheers. Once again, for the generosity and the dono. We can't thank you enough for the love, female fan since 82. Y'all show her some love. Serenade her in the comment section. Make sure she knows that she is appreciated. Big shout out to female fan since 82. Corin Smith, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Corin Smith writes, "Sup, Lou? Sup, Corin? I told the Kings before the draft that I believed in AP. We got the soldiers now. It's time to deliver. Do you think San Francisco gives up Brandon Ayuk now?" No, I don't. So here's what I would tell you. I believe that they are going to give him up eventually because I don't think they want the static that comes with an Ayuk filled, training camp. Like you want to just wipe the slate clean, start your season off without any distractions, and that is this Ayuk situation is the antithesis of that. Every time they show up in front of a microphone, John Lynch is asked about Brandon Ayuk, and it may not be a ton of questions. He may get one question of Ayuk, and it'll be close to the beginning of the presser, and then that'll be it because there's no update, no news in this situation isn't any news. So you don't keep asking questions. You're not going to get any different answers. They keep giving you basically the same answer. Oh, we'll see if we can get something for him. We don't think we're going to get anything, but we'll see. And if we don't, then we'll recalibrate. That's the same shit we heard, right around the combine, starting a new league year, free agency. It's the same shit. They just hitting rewind and then they playing the shit again, right? They know they're not getting anything for him, and they're just dragging this situation out. Eventually, though, I think we may get to like July, right before the start of training camp, and I think they may finally release him. Because anything after June 1, they're free to do whatever the hell they want to do. They could trade him, they could release him, and then it'll allow them to split that dead cap hit over 2 years. So I think you get to like mid-July. I don't think it's going to be August because they don't want the distraction. They don't want to get to their first training camp practice. Everybody shows up. They're doing conditioning drills, and Shanahan has to go to the podium, and the first thing they're going to ask him about is, Brandon Ayuk didn't show up today. What are you guys going to do about it? Or Ayuk was here, but he didn't practice. Do you have any plans? They don't want that shit. They want to turn the page. They had enough of that last year. So I think he's going to get cut in July. Drag it out as long as you can, and then they're going to cut him in July, I think. Adam Peters did his thing, but he's had a tremendous offseason, right? I said, go out and put an exclamation point on it, Adam. And he did. He absolutely did. Him and his staff did a tremendous job with this draft. And now I don't think there's a Commanders fan, maybe except John Perez, who, still thinks we're going to be asked this year, even though I think he's kind of changing his tune a bit. But even he's still doubling down on it because that's all he said off season. But I don't think there's a Commanders fan that doesn't think we can't compete now. Compete for what? Don't know. But a healthy Jaden Daniels with all the weapons that we've added on both sides of the football, you're going to be hard-pressed to find a Commanders fan that doesn't think we can compete tonight, this year, rather. Shadow Striker, 789. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Shadow Striker writes, predicted 4 out of 6. Missed on JJ and Fat Man. Can't believe Keith Abney fell to the 5th round and we didn't take him. A- draft overall. I needed a safety in this class. If you predicted 4 out of 6, you, my friend, are the man, because getting 2 out of 6 would have been stellar. That's over 30% of the draft. You got basically what? 4 out of 6 is, I'm trying to do the math in my head, somewhere in that 70% range, right? Let's see. How close can you get? 17 or 18? So 36 would put you at what? 64%, somewhere in there. So you're somewhere close to 70% of the picks you nailed. That's uncanny. That is uncanny. Abney falling to the 5th round was Stupid. Again, this entire draft was dumb, if we're being honest with each other. Maybe I overrated some of these players, but there's no way that 80 tight ends should have gone before these receivers did, and some of these safeties and corners. Like, I'm not tripping. I don't think I'm tripping, but cool. I'm not upset because we benefited from it. So A- draft. I think this is an A draft. Yeah, I've seen a lot of A-minuses. I've seen a lot of A's for the Commanders. A lot of people love what we did. So do I. So do I. We got good football players. Kaytron Allen is a good football player, man. Joshua Josephs is a good football player, man. Athan Kaliakmanis is going to be a really good backup quarterback for us now and into the future. We can finally get rid of Sam Hartman's stinking ass. That's a really good pick for so many reasons. None bigger than, hey, can we just get Sam Hartman the hell out of here? Obviously, we don't need to talk about the first two picks because those two picks by themselves make this an A draft. Sonny Styles and Antonio Williams by themselves make this an A draft. Corbin Smith, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Lou, which first round player hate team selected by? First round player hate team selected by. You got me on that one. I wish I could try to make sense of this, but I can't. I'm trying to make it make sense. I can't make it make sense. I'm trying to make it make sense. Pooping for Noopin. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Pooping for Noopin writes, 4 peeps mad at drafting a third-string quarterback. It makes a difference. They run the scout team. They get the reps with the backup developmental players in the preseason. If our third string is bad, it stunts them and evals. First of all, you're rarely ever going to get me super excited or disappointed or even upset with a 7th round pick. You just can't evoke emotion out of me for a 7th round pick very often. I am actually excited. You know how often I've come here and told you, man, it's a 7th round pick, man. This dude ain't going to be shit. Now, he turned out to be good. Some great examples of that. I was not high on James Smith-Williams. He ended up being a really quality 7th round pick for us. Cam Curl is probably the best example. I took the meanest dump on Cam Curl. Oh my God, he's slow. He's this, he's that. Why did we pick him? I went to town on Cam Curl, and he ended up being a damn good player. Got a fat-ass contract from the Rams. Good for him. Big shout out to Cam Curl. I was very disrespectful to him. As I am so dismissive of 7th round picks, generally speaking. So anybody bit out of shape for us, we don't see it the same because I don't really give a shit. It's a 7th round pick. I would prefer not to have it. Personally, I would prefer to trade up and get rid of the 7th round pick. I actually liked what we did with our 7th round pick here. To your point, it definitely makes a difference if you have a guy that is competent and capable running your scout team, and able to give you some good looks. So in season, that's generally your backup quarterback. In season, your backup is running the other team's plays for you. But because they don't get any reps during the regular season. All of the reps go to the starter. The backup has to be ready. But the third string quarterback, that's a guy that in the summer is huge, like you said. He's giving you some looks, and he's the guy that's giving you and depending on who the opponent is, you got a super athletic quarterback like Taylor Green just got drafted into the NFL, and you're playing against a team with a mobile quarterback. Guess who you're going to have play the other team's quarterback, right? Who you're going to have play Lamar Jackson, Taylor Green, right? So that's the kind of thing you do with certain quarterbacks. But you don't have that type of quarterback on your roster. You have a running back mimic Lamar Jackson, right? You guys should I'm not telling you how to feel or how you should be. I just think, if nothing else, you should be willing to give Athan Kaliakmanis a chance, even if you don't love him. I love the pick. Like the player, but love the pick. I love what the pick stands for. Zulu Tribe, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Zulu Tribe writes, Luke played good with Marcus. Jaden? I remember in his rookie season, I pointed out, we all did, times where Luke was wide ass open and Jaden just never even looked his way. Never. And there was a play that it always stood out to me against the Giants where Jaden, and this was one of my like example plays that I would use for Jaden all the time, when I would say he's the next development of Jaden Daniels is getting out of the pocket to extend as a passer, not as a runner. Because a lot of times when Jaden breaks the pocket, especially to his right, he's looking to run. And you don't want to become one of these guys that doesn't look to extend plays to be a passer. I never want my quarterback to be a guy that, like, they do this with Josh Allen. And even though teams still don't do this successfully, and I don't know why, because the numbers out there are so eye-popping. But Josh Allen rolling to his right versus rolling to his left, the numbers are staggering. It's a night and day difference. Rolling to his left, he's more liable to throw an interception than an incompletion or a completion to his own team. Rolling to his right, he is so lethal throwing the football. So lethal. And yet, teams don't blitz him to force him left. They let him get outside the pocket, break contain, and get to the right where he wants to be, where he can make plays off schedule. I don't want Jaden to turn into a guy where there's a narrative or a book out on him where, hey, you can do this to Jaden and it's going to fluster him, or it's going to force him into something he doesn't want to do. You want him to be comfortable in all facets of the field, and be able to do things outside the pocket that stress the defense, not just with their legs, but with your arms. And Luke was so wide open against the Giants in that rookie season. Or it was the Cowboys. I think it was the Cowboys game. It was the first Cowboys game. It wasn't the Giants. The first Cowboys game. And all he had to do was flip it to him. It would have been a touchdown. It would have been like a 55-yard touchdoon. Nobody else was back there. All the Cowboys had converged on to Jaden Daniels. And Luke, he did the thing he was supposed to do. When you're close to the quarterback and he starts rolling out to your side, you're supposed to go deep, right? If you're away from the quarterback, you're supposed to come back to him, right? Luke took off. And he couldn't have been no more than 11 yards away from Jaden. Right in his line of sight, he's raising his arms as he's running away from Dallas defenders. And Jaden, his eyes are up, but I don't know if he ever actually saw Luke. Don't think he did. But it was just frustrating because all he had to do was flip the football to him. He didn't even have to throw it, just flip it to him. And Luke would have caught it and ran for a 55-yard touchdown. And Jaden just ended up running out of bounds for like either a loss of one or no gain. And it was just so frustrating because I'm like, that's the next evolution of Jaden. And we saw him be better at that last year. Yeah, like week 1, he came out of the gates. First completion, big completion in that Giants game was to Chris Moore on that sideline, to that right sideline. Beautiful throw as Jaden was flushed from the pocket and, Chris Moore was going towards out of bounds. We were shocked that Chris Moore even caught that. It was such a great throw and a good catch by Chris Moore. Get his feet in bounds, whatnot. There were so many times that Luke was open in Jaden's rookie season. I didn't feel that way last year. I don't think you can say that about Luke. Luke played well when Marcus was in. Is Jaden the problem last year? Because Luke scored a touchdown with Jaden last year against the Bears, just like he scored one against with the Marcus against the Raiders. And Luke's best catch of his career, not of the season, of his career, came with Jaden in the lineup on the deep post against the Chargers. So I can't say that there is like a disconnect there, but I can say this. Who takes more reps throughout the course of the year with Luke? Jaden or Marcus? The answer is Marcus. So if Marcus is to come into the game, he's going to be a lot more comfortable throwing the ball to Luke than Jaden would be. But again, I can't say that it was that big of a difference this year. Then in his rookie season, yeah, it was bad. It was real bad. Christopher McLaughlin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, C-Mac, writes, hey, Lou. What's up, Chris? Hope all is well with you and the family. Likewise, as always. For me, it's a B+ draft. Okay. 3 questions. 1, who are going to be the lockdown corners? 2, who is the true center field range free safety? 3, if we don't get Ayuk, who is wide receiver 2? So 1, I don't think we have lockdown corners in this particular scheme. You don't need them. You don't, and they don't invest heavily. And I told you, if there's one position you can sort of trim off fat at in this particular scheme, it's cornerback, and we've seen that in Minnesota. So I'm not shocked that they didn't draft a corner. I'm not shocked that they didn't spend big money in free agency when all those corners were available. They came away with a Meek Robertson and a Killer Witherspoon. I'm not shocked because you don't spend big at the cornerback position in this defense. So we don't have a lockdown corner. We have Trey Amos and Mikey Samer still. And that's what we're going to roll with and hope it works out. And if anything goes awry, you can either insert a Killer Witherspoon or a Meek Robertson. So who are the true center field range safety, free safety? So who's that guy in the middle of this defense? So in this defense, you don't necessarily have to have that like rangy free safety because there's a lot of rocking and rolling that goes on, meaning the safeties interchange. You know, the free safety could be down in the box, the strong safety. They do a lot of disguising. The free safety might be down in the box at the snap and then haul ass. You see, I know if you watch a Brian Flores defense, if you watch the Vikings, you see that all the time where Dirty Harry is in the box and right before the ball snap, you see this big ass shift where the strong safety comes hauling ass down and he goes back, or you know, the both safeties are in the box and then they both kind of go back. One kind of falls into that lurker range, right, where he can come down and pick something off, and the other one goes all the way back to the post. I don't know who that guy is going to be. I'm thinking it's Will Harris. If I had to guess, Will Harris is going to be your free safety. Nick Cross is going to be your strong safety down closer to the line of scrimmage. That's my guess. We'll see what happens. I know y'all don't want to hear this, but don't dismiss Jartavis Martin either. He may be reborn again in this scheme. Who's to say? But right now, my money's on Will Harris being that guy. And then if we don't get Ayuk, who is wide receiver 2, right now it's Antonio Williams. We so often equate the numbers to outside. Like Terry's outside and the other number 2 receiver has to be outside. This ain't 1986. This ain't 1992 where you got Michael Irvin on one side and Alvin Harper on the other side, and you got your 1 and your 2 receiver, right? Or you got Chris Carter on one side and you got Jake Reed on the other side, and Jake Reed would play in the slot from time to time with the Vikings too. But it's not like that anymore, right? It ain't Herman Moore on one side and Brett Pyramiding on the other side, and you got these 2 dynamic receivers on the outside. Your slot receiver could be your number 1 receiver. In Dallas, CeeDee Lamb is the number 1 receiver. CeeDee Lamb do most of his damage from the slot. Amon-Ra St. Brown is the Lions' number 1 wide receiver. He's a slot receiver. Your number 1 could be in the slot. So Antonio Williams is our number 2 wide receiver. Now, if you're asking who is the Z, that's a different question because the Z isn't here yet. If the Z is here, now me and Rio had one of the nastiest arguments in Commanders Kings history. It's one of the nastiest arguments you'll ever see on a Commander stream in general. We argued over whether or not Luke or Traylon Burks would be the starter outside if we did nothing else at receiver. That is such a nasty argument. It was we joked about it all day today. It's the nastiest argument ever And we was dead ass serious too. We was going back and forth, back and forth. I think it would be Traylon Burks. But it could be Luke. It could be Luke. Either one is nasty. Neither of them are satisfactory. So you don't get Ayuk. Antonio Williams is your number 2 receiver. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. John Perez, thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, speaking of John, let me check on your Lakers right now. See if they about to complete this sweep, which they probably are. Let's see what the score is in that game. Oh, nah, no sweep going on tonight. Y'all down 20. and that's not out of the like you're up 3-0. If there's a tendency to relax up 3-0 on the road, you can just go home and close it out there. Now don't mess around and let them win game 5 and get this shit back to, because they should have beat you in game 3. They were up 5 with about, less than a minute to go. They should have won that game. So don't mess around and let this shit get back to Houston. You finish them off in game number 5. Finish them off in game 5 because it don't look like it's going down tonight. Does not look like. Ayton ejected for the game tonight. It's falling out. It's flagrant 2 foul. Okay, yeah, it's falling, and it's okay. You up 3-0. You can afford to lose this. You just better finish it in 5, or it could turn into a real series. My guy JP says this was such a nice draft outside of the 7th round quarterback, and I like that too. I love this draft in one of the Penn State running backs. Maybe Bill and Allen could be our Sonic and Knuckles. Yeah, I would. Again, we don't want to go too far with the Detroit comparisons and analogies. Rio said somebody DM'd him. He told me somebody DM'd him. I don't think he mind me sharing this with y'all. He said somebody DM'd him and basically said, "Yo, you think Diami could be our JMO?" Like, wait, what? Wait, what? No. Let me answer that for you. No, he can't. He can't be. First of all, can we not act like Diami wasn't here before? We know who Diami Brown is. He's not a new player. This is not our first rodeo. This is not our first. Diami's spinning the block. And the first time that he was here, it wasn't great. The lasting image was that of him playing his best football, so it left a good taste in some of your mouths. But let's be honest, he was a disappointment. Stop trying to make Diami Brown into something he's not. He is not Jameson Williams. And Bill and Kaytron Allen aren't Sonic and Knuckles. Because in order to have anything even remotely close to that, you need a Sonic. And I'm telling you right now, there aren't very many Jahmyr Gibbses in this league. He might be a one of one. Okay? He's different. Nothing we have resembles that. Maybe Kaytron Allen can be like a David Montgomery, and I'm a big David Montgomery fan, by the way. And Montgomery's way better than Kaytron Allen. But maybe he can be something of that ilk, right? Again, I would liken him more to a Tyler Algier than I would to David Montgomery. Because Montgomery, he has immense agility. He can make you miss. That was his calling card coming out of Iowa State. Kaytron Allen ain't making nobody miss. He gets on his one track and he stays on that track. He ain't making you miss. He ain't juking nobody. He doesn't have an accelerator. Like, we watched David Montgomery rip off a 80-yard run against Baltimore on a Monday night last year. Kaytron Allen ain't doing that. Tyler Algier ain't doing that. Ours wouldn't be like Sonic and Knuckles. You'd have to find some other dynamic duo. Maybe Tails and Knuckles? Maybe? Tails isn't athletic, is he? Nah. I don't know. You'd have to find a different dynamic duo. It ain't Sonic and Knuckles, though. As much as I love Bill, he damn sure ain't Sonic. And Kaytron could be Knuckles, though. He could be Knuckles, but he ain't what David Montgomery was for the Lions. I think you'll learn to love the 7th round pick too. Just as a side note. Joseph's Journey. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Joseph's Journey writes, our new center looks corn-fed. I bet he starts. Hey, I hope he starts. I wouldn't bank on it. He absolutely looks corn-fed. Started out at Wake Forest, which is in which is in North Carolina, and went to Michigan State. I hope he's a big, strong kid ready to come in here and give us some starts at center. I hope so. I don't know, Joseph. I don't know if that's what's going to happen. He's going to have to look more than just corn-fed to start. I got to see more than them just being corn-fed. But, hey, cheers to him being ready to come in here and compete, though. Let's just cheers to that. Tay, 2 times. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Tay, 2 times writes, Clemson's poor play messed up the whole team's stock. Cade, Peter, TJ, Williams all had first-round grades before the season. As a UT fan, excited about Joseph's. He is very raw. Wanted Brazel, too. I'm excited about. I said Joseph's upside is the highest of anybody in this draft, and that includes Sonny Styles. And we know Sonny Styles, his upside is through the roof. Joseph's, I think, with that length and his athleticism, if he puts it together, look out. Look out. The reason why I say the upside is higher is because I feel like we're so far away from what his can be. I think we're a lot closer to what we saw flashes of what Sonny Styles can be. I feel like we're a lot closer to what he's ultimately going to be than where Joseph's is in terms of where he could actually get to. I think we're a lot further away for him. Yeah, Clemson, when you play poorly, it hurts you. But if you're a good football player, that shit doesn't matter. They're gonna draft you anyway, right? If Peter Woods could get to the quarterback, he would have been a first-round pick. He can't get to the quarterback, and he's not dominant enough against the run, so that hurt his stock a little bit. If TJ Parker had been drafted last year instead of this year, he'd have been a first-round pick. He was coming off an incredible season. This year, he took a step back. People said 24 was an aberration. That's not really who he is. 25 is closer to what you're going to get at the NFL level, and they treated him as such, right? Williams was dealing with an injury. He, again, if 24, if he'd have come out after that season, almost 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns, did everything, he might have been a first-round pick. But, this year, like you said, they didn't have a great season. Cade Klubnik struggled. The team struggled. Stats were down across the board for most of these guys, and so it hurt them. But that's the nature of the beast. That's the nature of the beast. We benefited from it, so I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all. Tay, 2 times. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, his ceiling is James Pierce Jr. if he locks in. I don't know about that. I don't know if because James Pierce was elite athletically, like elite. He's not that, right? But he's a talent for sure. And that length, that arm length is something to behold. I'm telling you right now, if he's ever able to get that arm length to be if he's able to continue to harness that, because I think he actually uses his length really well, his arm length really well. If he's able to add to his repertoire, add to his tool belt, speed to power, crossover, pole vault, or I call it long arm of the law. He's able to diversify his rush portfolio. Look out. He could be really, really special. I don't know if he's James Pierce Jr. special, but he could be special. Mr. Ron B. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Mr. Ron B. OG triple OG. Writes, what's up, Lou? Very sad to hear about Monty Coleman's passing. A lasting image seeing him raise his helmet high during the player introductions at RFK. Raise your glass to a great Redskin leader, ripped to number 51. I did not know Monty passed. When did that happen? Cheers, man. I need to wash this glass. This is what 3 days of work will look like right here, man. Glass up for Monty Coleman, man. So won't you raise your glass, won't you? An absolute Redskins legend, Monty Coleman was, man. One of the most versatile players we've ever seen don the burgundy and gold. Was a huge part of those championship era years here in Washington. Man, he was so good, and he was so valuable. Cheers to a Redskin legend laid to rest. May he rest in paradise, man. Cheers to Monty. Damn, you got me wondering when that happened. Normally, that kind of shit don't sneak by me. The hell that happened? Oh, that happened today. That's why. Damn, Monty. Only 68 years old. So he was still young, boy. Whew, that one hurt my heart. Damn, I wonder what happened. Damn, you just messed me up, Mr. Ron B. You just messed me all up, bruh. Damn. All right. I don't want to drag the whole mood of the stream down, but sheesh. Oh, man. Cups up for Monty, man. Cups up for Monty one time, y'all. Cheers to our fallen soldier. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Big Money Sonny writes, Lou, I confirmed that it was luck, bro. You got. I don't believe it was him until he got to come out and tell me he got me. But that was some luck type ish. I can believe because of the creativity that was involved in it that it was luck. I could believe that. But don't worry. Luck has always been a trendsetter and a trailblazer here on the Louie T Network because he's always made me more alert and aware. And he just did it again. If that was in fact him, he just did it again. So big shout out to him. I'll be very vigilant of these names that people are creating now. I won't get got like that again. So cheers to my guy Luck, man. I ain't heard from him in a minute, but cheers to him. J-Dub Clatt, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, hey, Lou. What's up, J-Dub? Hope all is well. Likewise. I have 1 week left in my junior year of college. I got a question. Are you a baseball fan? And any UDFAs you like? So I wouldn't consider myself, I'm what you would call a casual. I was a massive baseball fan growing up. Massive. I played the game. I played it. I was, again, played in high school. I was going to play in college. And I used to follow it a lot closer than I do now. I don't really watch it anymore, to be perfectly honest with you. I play off baseball. I can get into that a little bit, though. I can get into it a little bit. UDFAs, I haven't really looked at the list. I told you I'm gonna have a video for you guys tomorrow, though. I've been keeping tabs on some of them, but I can't tell you if I like them because I haven't watched them. I'm not one to just be like, oh, yeah, I like this guy because somebody else said they like him. I got to watch for myself to see if I like any of them. I do know we got like an LSU receiver. He was supposed to be, somewhat decent. But again, I got to watch him. He looks like the picture I saw of him. He looks super skinny. So I'm like, what is he, 167 pounds? But I got to look at him. And I'll tell you if I like any of them. Because if the track record repeats itself, at least one of them UDFAs making a roster. We had multiple UDFAs the first year, which go figure, we were turning over the roster. There was a lot of space. Last year, we had one UDFA make the roster, Ale Cajo. This year, we'll see if any of them make the roster. I don't think a UDFA will make the roster this year. That's my guess. I think the roster is a lot more dense this year than it was in past years, but I won't rule it out. I won't say that somebody can't come out of nowhere and wow this, coaching staff and make the football team, but doesn't feel like it this year. But we'll see. Congratulations to you completing another year of college. You're doing good, because I know a lot of people that go to college. It's supposed to be 4 years, and they do 6 or 7 like they doing a bid. So get in, get out, right? Sounds like you're on track to hit all of your markers and get out of there when you're supposed to, man. So keep up the good work, my guy. Mr. Rogers, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Uncle Jay, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, writes, Lou, about to call it a night. Just kidding. Shout out to her. Yeah. Shout out to her. And shout out to female fan since 82. That was legendary. Legendary stuff. Once again, cheers to female fan since 82. J-Dub clap. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Lou, you might not agree with me, but I think we win in the East this year. Eagles aren't as scary, especially without A.J. Brown. Cowboys are the Cowboys, and the Giants are just there. 12-5, 13-4. Yeah, I can't co-sign that. I think the Eagles they're not going to go away, and they're not going to go down without a fight. I do think they're starting to be weakened a bit internally. You lose your legendary offensive line coach. You got 2 more coordinators, but what if the coordinators are actually good? The last time they switched coordinators and they were actually good, they won the Super Bowl. Who's to say that this isn't a repeat of that, right? Yeah, you're going to lose A.J. Brown, but they've added maybe, they have added enough stuff to cushion the blow. And then the Mekhi Lemon, like if they didn't get Mekhi Lemon, I would be like, yeah, that A.J. Brown joint going to hurt. And it's still going to hurt, but Lemon is going to definitely soften that blow, along with Hollywood Brown, Dontavian Wicks, all the guys that they added. They got more weapons now than they did before. I notice I didn't say better. They just have more. We'll see how it turns out for them. The Eagles are super talented. You can't just count them out. The Cowboys are the Cowboys. You heard Jerry today say he thinks they can win the Super Bowl this year. I mean, that's Jerry. He probably thinks they can win the Super Bowl every year. But hey, they made a bunch of defensive moves. They added like 15 edge rushers. Every other pick was an edge rusher. Every move in the offseason was for an edge rusher. Everything they have done has been chasing the ghost of Micah Parsons. I love it. So we'll see. We know the offense is really good. If the defense is half decent, the Cowboys got a shot. And then the Giants are just there. I can't say that they're just there, but no one fears them. But, we'll see. We got to keep beating them. I know that much. We got to keep sweeping them. 12-5, 13-4. I would love to go back to 12-5. I would love to, because I actually think 12-5 wins the division this year. I actually think 12-5 would win it. 13-4, you're now talking about being in a position to have the number 1 seed in the conference. I don't know if we're ready for that kind of action yet. The main focus is winning the East, and either one of those records, I think, gets it done. Either one of those records gets it done. But let's see the schedule first before we start talking wins and losses. That schedule will be released here in the next couple of weeks. Let's You about to start seeing people predicting schedule? Shit, I'm probably gonna jump in on the fray. It is a fun exercise to predict the schedule, so I think I'm gonna jump in the mix here shortly. NFL will tell us when the schedule release is, so we'll have an idea. It's usually on a Wednesday. My guess is it's going to be the 2nd or 3rd Wednesday of May. So we'll be on the lookout for that. We'll be on the lookout for that. James LaRue, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, shout out AP for doing his thing in this draft. And yeah, Lou, I caught that playback Thursday night. I didn't get a noti, unfortunately. Hashtag 2 Dixon. Yeah, man. That was unfortunate. I feel really bad about that. I got, man. I mean, it happens to the best of them, man. It happens to the best of us. That's what I'm telling myself. Hashtag spring ball. Yeah, man. That was rough. It was rough. The only thing that I can say is it came so late in the stream that ain't too many people gonna see it. So I feel good about that. That happened in like the 6 and some change mark. So ain't nobody gonna see that for real. Only the ones that know. But doesn't make it any less painful that I got in that fashion, in that manner. So I digress. How you ain't get the noti? That's the most important part here is like how we not getting notifications. That's like Thursday night was a pretty big effing deal. Like that's crazy. So I'm glad you were able to catch it at some point though. Mr. Rogers, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Lou dropping these Kanye gems back when he was Kanye. Now he's just Ye. I don't know Ye. I knew Kanye. Yeah, I can't sign up for it anymore. But yeah, he was special once upon a time. Was a special guy once upon a time. Anyway, I digress. J-Dub Clap, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, I'm a communications major and I want to be a play-by-play broadcaster. So hopefully things fall into place during the summer. And heading into my senior year, appreciate the support. That's awesome, man. I love that you have a feel for what it is you want to do, know what you want to do. That's pretty dope. Have you gotten any like internships? Like you should be trying to get internships. You know, figure out if you can get in. And I don't know, what school you go to, but if they got if they have teams, you should be trying to do the play-by-play for those teams. Get as many reps as you can, my guy. Get as many reps. You should be calling up the school game, basketball games, the football games. You should be all up in the mix, bro. And if they already got somebody doing it, you should be shadowing them, telling them like, hey, I want to be a part of this. Obviously, y'all ain't got to pay me. I want to be around this shit. Because this is what you want to do, right? Only way you get better is either doing it or being around it. So hopefully you taking the steps to put yourself in that position if that's what you truly want to do. Be around it, man. I love it. I love it, bro. Anyway, I digress. That is going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this installment of Washington Commanders 2026 draft class. We welcome them to the family. We were going to go over the positions. We'll do that tomorrow. We'll do that on the video tomorrow because this one was already going to get pretty long. It's already long as is. So I think what we'll do is we'll save that for tomorrow. So we got a lot to discuss tomorrow, and we may do it in 2 different videos, maybe 3, or excuse me, we may do one big video, and then I save the UDFAs for Tuesday. But we will get to the UDFAs. But I want to go through the offensive and defensive depth charts post-draft now, kind of see where we are. Because I think the number 2 game is getting pretty interesting. at the running back position, at the edge rusher position. I think those are the two that stand out the most. After wide receiver is even interesting now, assuming that you're still going to add another receiver. Like, we're not keeping 9 receivers, y'all. Like, something's got to be done, right? So I think that deserves a conversation too. So a lot of intrigue, and I look forward to chopping it up with you guys then. But tonight was fun. It was informative, and I look forward to us doing this again tomorrow when we go through the positions and we start to turn our attentions to the UDFAs. So big shout out to everyone, female fans since '82. Big shout out to you, and Monty Coleman. Rest in paradise, King. Cheers. Cheers to all of you for joining me here tonight. And I look forward to chopping it up with you guys next time. Until then, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. You guys have a good one. Draft class of 2026, welcome to the Burgundy and Gold. Looking forward to seeing you guys kick ass and take names. Until next time, peace.